All right, welcome in. Happy Wednesday. It is Happer Schaefer here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, and Joey Colbert with you this morning. All three of us at 8 o'clock basketball games last night. Well, or involved with 8 o'clock basketball games last night. One and Omaha in the downtown arena in Omaha, one in Lincoln in the downtown arena in Lincoln, and one right here at NRG Media, finishing up the beautiful, beautiful broadcast of Creighton basketball. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm good. I don't know. Maybe I got home before everybody else did.
I believe you did.
So I was a leader in the clubhouse of getting home. Probably got to sleep around midnight.
Yeah.
So solid, just shy of 5 hours of sleep, I guess.
I guess if there's one thing in there, the adjustment to this week for all of our new lives here. First of all, I'm sure you probably experienced this a little bit last night. You have to just everyone will come up to you and they will say, "Hey, how's the morning going?" Did that happen to you last night?
In the section of which I sit, multiple people, I realized this too when the friend that I share the tickets with was like, "Do you know any of these people's names?" And I was like, No. But multiple people came up and congratulated me. One in particular asked that I keep you more on the rails of sports and less everything else.
Whoa, really?
And I was like, well,
they think I talk about other stuff?
Well, no, they're fine with venturing into other stuff. They don't want to go too far.
I'm always curious what the narratives are on me.
Well, I don't know. And
I'd like to dispel them. I'm like Matt Rule in that way.
The thing that's odd is he listened to us when we were in Lincoln, so it's not like it's
oh yeah.
So I don't know. Did you veer into more non-sports when you came to Omaha?
It's possible. I needed more things to
extra
say.
Hour.
Yeah, extra hour and one less person in the room.
Yeah.
So
maybe you could just pin it on Josh. You could blame Josh Hodson. Josh Hodson made you less sports oriented.
Maybe.
That's a possibility. But no, the reception was very good, as you would expect when people talk to you to your face. Yeah. I've never had anybody come up to me and tell me that they hated my radio show and anything. Actually, I've never had anyone come up and tell me any of the things that I've been tweeted or, put elsewhere.
No, they'll just say, "How's it going?" And that has happened definitely a couple times.
They do like to start a conversation with that phrase.
They do. The other thing is when you sleep and you host a morning show, this is not a sob story by any means necessary. Just sort of look at the world through our eyes this week, as this is all new for us. When you sleep well. I have to hand it to my body. Great job, my body. When we sleep well. At least that's been my experience this week.
I can't say that there's been any difference in terms of the quality of sleep that I've been getting.
I think I would consider myself a light sleeper. But when you're only sleeping,
how many times you wake up every night?
It's not consistent, but probably at least once.
Yeah.
And probably like at the most annoying time, like an hour before you're supposed to wake up. And then you're like, oh my God, what do I do?
Back to sleep?
Not usually.
Yeah.
Not usually.
I wake up a fair amount, but also fall asleep very quickly.
I just feel like if I had my alarm set for like 7 o'clock in the morning and I wake up at 5:50, I feel like that's really annoying to me, But that is not the case when you set your alarm for 5.
See, I'm like one of these.
You just wake up at 5. There's no biological clock that tells you to wake up before 5.
No, I'm one of these people that if I wake up like 20 minutes before my alarm goes off, it's immediately like, oh, cool, I have 20 more minutes before I have to do it.
Oh, what a rosy outlook.
Like a weirdly positive thing for me.
Yeah.
I guess if it's like 2 minutes before the alarm goes off, it's like, I guess I can just lay here, stare upward and think about my day.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like oh, nice, I have 20 minutes to grab this extra sleep.
That is an awfully positive and rosy
outlook. It doesn't
outlook.
Seem like something that I would
be
either.
I figured you'd be annoyed by it.
No. It's
interesting.
More annoyed if I wake up at like 3 a.m. for no reason whatsoever, and then I'm just awake.
Yeah.
Like that sucks. But that doesn't happen very
often. Texter writes in from the 515, opening with the Jays, ? No. I don't know where you got that idea. Sometimes this is the other thing I've learned this week. Sometimes people just say things that just completely aren't true, and they're just allowed to say them. I guess I
just like to look at the title and say, "Oh, this is going to be 4 hours of Blue Jay basketball."
No,
talk.
it is most certainly not. We will talk about we will talk about the Jays at some point today, but I don't think it'll be right at the start. But welcome into the show today. We will debut another round of guests on this fine Wednesday. Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald will join us at 8:45 this morning. And Lauren Michelson of KTV in Omaha. I think she was in Lincoln last night.
Yeah, I think so too.
I didn't see her in Omaha.
She had post-game stuff coming out of Lincoln, and so you never know where she's going to pop up.
Okay. And today she will pop up on 1620 The Zone.
Yeah, I think it's her debut.
At 9:15. That is our lineup, powered by the Rooferees at John Higgins Weatherguard. Want to hear from you all today? 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. You can call or text that number. Tweet at Happer Schaefer, at Connor Happer, at Mike J. Schaefer on the Twitter feed. You can email Connor at 1620thezone.com, Mike at 1620thezone.com. He will get access to it at some point.
Yeah, no, it'll happen during the next break. I will get this done.
Jay Colbert at NRG Media.
Life has been flying, and there's just things that I need to get done that need to get done.
We have been moving around. There's no doubt about it. We got another round of things that we
My
have to do
slowest
today.
day of the week is today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome for you.
It
What
is.
do you have,
and
what do you
yet
have planned for
I
your
already feel
time?
the internal pressure to make sure that I get all the things done that I haven't accomplished.
To make sure you utilize your time well.
And then that actually ruins it being the slowest day of the week.
We have a photo shoot today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
on
so
the schedule.
we're all wearing the same shirts, but I'm glad that we're not all outwardly wearing the same shirts right now because
Well, I wore mine on Monday, so I had to make sure I washed it again. And then I was like, well, people might wonder.
I probably
So
have
then
worn mine
I
since
needed
June.
something to wear over it, so it just wasn't brazenly wearing the same shirt every other day.
Good job by you. Joey, when's the last time you wore your 1620 shirt?
It was sometime in the summer.
The College World Series.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was just taking a drink real quick. I would have responded to that faster.
His response, it was like you could see he was far away in his head trying to think of the last time he wore that specific shirt.
Yeah. All right. Elsewhere today on the show, many things we want to get into, including the latest round of the NCAA not really making much sense, which is a great job by them. Mike Tomlin, done. And the entire NFC North coaching regime, with the exception AFC North, with the exception of one man
who was the one that everyone wanted gone
and has wanted gone for like multiple years now. Zach Taylor has been fighting the good fight for a long time now, and all the other people who were viewed as good coaches in that division are no longer employed, but for a variety of different reasons.
Yeah,
I actually, people might balk at Kevin Stefanski, but I think he's pretty good.
He's two-time NFL Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that there should be. He coached.
I'm just
in
saying,
Cleveland.
he was the coach of the Browns. You get the Browns stink on you, and then it ends.
It fascinates me because you could sort of like be like, well, if you take those three coaches and those three job openings and you switch it up so they're all at a different place, kind of a good fit for all of them somewhere in there.
Right.
Like Stefanski could go to Pittsburgh and operate their offense. You know, Harbaugh could go to Cleveland, I guess, if you would, and then Tomlin goes over to Baltimore,
and they'd all get better.
Yeah, well, I think their strengths would sort of allow. Tomlin's the toughest one. I think you could. That one's maybe the more difficult to figure out how it fits.
Well, we'll get into that. Schaefer's ruminations on if all the AFC North coaches just mixed around and took
Somehow,
different jobs.
I don't know that that's going to happen.
All right.
But Stefanski has already interviewed for the Baltimore, and I would guess that Pittsburgh would want to have him as well.
Also, last night, we will get into the basketball games where Nebraska ball takes it to yet another level, houses Oregon at home, and is now trying to survive a Dana Altman jinx. We will talk about that as we go on throughout the show. Creighton snatches victory from the jaws of defeat behind Austin Swartz's 33 points last night. Nebraska got an offensive lineman yesterday. Mike Eckler update. People are wondering what's going on with Mike Eckler. Mike Schaefer says,
I mean,
you might not like it.
Yesterday, we allowed that you should not dismiss. Today, we should allow that you should have a little concern.
Okay.
Maybe a little should be a lot. I don't know. We'll
also,
find out.
Also, we'll give you another reason why the Big Ten is one of the worst conferences at negotiating that we've ever seen. So
in the post Kevin Warren era?
In the post Kevin Warren era. Wow. Yeah. I mean, obviously this trend started in the Kevin Warren era.
Yeah, when Delaney left, they took a giant step backwards in who sits in that seat.
Or are you one of the guys that is out there saying Jim Delaney would be rolling in his grave right now? Or
he's past, right?
He's alive. Yeah. He's alive.
No, I don't know that I'd be saying that. It's just that like there's just a massive stature difference in Jim Delaney and what he meant to college sports in general.
Team Big Ten old guard, Mike Schaefer.
Not even that. It's just that Kevin Warren was so ill-equipped for that job, and Tony, whatever it is not
Tony Petit,
not particularly better with how he's handled multiple things that have popped up.
AKA Manfred's boy.
Yeah, Manfred's boy. Which coming from that tree, not exactly a lot of hope for me out of that.
Absolutely not. That guy sucks. We will. Okay, so actually, we said we weren't going to start off with Creighton basketball, but we do have a phone call, so we can't help it where you guys take it. So this one's not on me. Here is Creighton Andrew on the Prevailed Casino Zone hotline. Hey, Andrew. Good morning.
Yeah, how you doing, Connor? You don't have to take that crap from Nebraska fans.
Thank you. You know what? You're right.
You don't have to take that crap.
You're right.
I mean, the Nebraska ball has one good season, and they act like they're a blue blood in basketball. Jesus.
Interesting.
I was wondering, is Conan going to get some more play at center?
It seems like it. Yeah.
And there's a recruit that Creighton's still in on. He's like the 20th recruit in the 26th class. Jacobson.
Okay.
Is Creighton still involved in that?
Andrew, is that all you got? I'll answer your question off the air.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I don't know much about Creighton recruiting. I got to be completely honest with you on that one.
I know less than you do.
Yeah, I'd have to check another source for that.
I mean, I barely know any basketball recruiting as it is because it's the most difficult to track, follow, and I wanted nothing to do with it when I actually covered recruiting.
Yeah, wait till signing day and see what happens. So, Andrew, I am not the right person to probably be asking you about that, so I apologize. Although I could find an answer and get back to you. But the other question was, is Conan going to play a little bit more? I think so. I mean, Jason Green is hurt, which is yet another thing in this ridiculous Creighton season that is, from hell, it seems at times. And
was
then
he the player that was down at the end of the game?
Jason?
Yeah.
Down at the end of the No, that was a Georgetown guy.
Oh, that was
Nick Graves.
Graves.
Nick Graves.
Talking about the inbound at the very
end.
Dude,
that was Graves. Yeah, he got smoked on that play. So
I heard that call, and then they hadn't identified who the player was, and then the game was over, and I wasn't sticking around for post-game.
Right, you just didn't worry about whatever happened next. No,
I figured I'd find out in the morning when we started with Jace basketball.
Jason Green has become the most important player on this team by a long shot, and he's hurt right now. He's got a shoulder thing, and he's basically playing with one arm. I don't know what they're going to do to mitigate that. Obviously, you have a little bit of time off after Friday. Like at least you have a longer stretch where you don't have a game. But seems like one of those things that's just going to hurt him all year. And so probably more Conan and probably a little bit more Owen Freeman if you could get him in the game and make sure he's comfortable and all those different things. So yes, to answer Creighton Andrew's question, yes. I think there will probably be a little bit more Conan. From the 402, Andrew is such a Creighton troll. Is he paid by the university? Well, he said a Creighton. That doesn't make him a Creighton troll. I guess wouldn't that make
you're
him
paid by the university? Does that make you a Creighton troll?
No, I'm not a Creighton troll, right? Because I don't troll Creighton.
I'm just wondering if people paid by the university.
I get trolled by people who don't like Creighton or are for some reason take a very special interest in the things that Creighton is doing on a daily basis, but that doesn't make me a Creighton troll,
gotcha.
Does it? Also, I figured this would come in a text back from the from the 515 number that was, mad at us immediately for talking about the Jays. And he followed up. He says, "Hey, look, the title of the show is the Jays. The thumbnail is for the Jays. And you guys are talking about the Jays now." I got to be honest with you. I didn't expect to talk about the Jays at this point during the show, but here we are. All right. So we have plenty to come today on the show, on this, our third show. We're still catching our breath. We're still figuring out things on a day-by-day basis. We're still coming up. Actually, we have yet to come up with dumb bits that we could repeat on a daily basis. We had like a hatchling of an idea yesterday for Joey, right? Joey, was it Joey reads headlines? How do we feel about that, Joey?
Yeah, I'm good with the idea. We kind of similar to your previous show.
I've always on any show that I've done, I've always had a segment like that where people,
it reminded me of we had a producer once who famously didn't actually read the stories and he just read the headlines.
Exactly.
We would ask for more information, and
so what's the point of this bit though, Schaefer? Are we?
I think Joey would actually have the information behind the story. It's just he reads the headline, gives you a synopsis, we react.
So it's just odd news repackaged.
Yeah, basically.
All right, cool.
Love it. Joey Colbert style.
But Joey Colbert style. That's interesting. Maybe he would, be interested in some different things.
Exactly. I suspect he would.
I suspect that as well. Joey needs a nap this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm very low on sleep at the moment. I'm sure all you guys are.
We are, but
we're in it together.
I think you were the last one. You were the last one in the hay last night. So
the text I sent to my wife when I left Lincoln last night was poor Joey, because I informed her that what you had going on last night, and then that game going to overtime, and everything else could not have helped.
Well, when we had the 90-minute Blue Jay shoot around in, I really struggled getting through with that with Austin.
That's right.
I got better.
I saw Austin at the game.
Yeah, he was.
He was there.
He wanted to be there for
dollar beer night.
I almost said one beer Friday again. I said that. That's how tired I am. I'm just getting mixed up with my words.
Yeah, indeed. All right. So, and then we'll talk about Schaefer's experience where they did not have dollar beer night in Lincoln, but they had an excellent crowd and they won by 100 last night. So we will get to that. Actually, on the other side here. So, welcome to the show this morning.
35 is 100. Is that what I understand?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So somebody asked me last night. It's like, did Nebraska ended up winning? I was like, yeah, I think they won by 100. Actually, it was John. And I told him, I said Nebraska won by 100. He was like 100. And I was like, yeah, 35 is 100. We'll be back and talk about that, and still the 17-0 undefeated Nebraska basketball Cornhuskers after this.
The blue blood of basketball. You heard it from Andrew.
On 1620 The Zone. Well, 17-0, 21 games in a row, and a shellacking of the Oregon Ducks last night. That would be Nebraska basketball, this was expected. I actually thought, because I saw and then watched what kind of offensive game they had last night and then what kind of defensive game they had last night. I thought that their metrics would take a bigger jump than they did, but they are up to 28 on KenPom on offense and 14 on defense. Not that that's the only thing that matters, but I am patiently waiting for them to get into that 25-25 range so they could meet the qualification for potential national champion, right? At least historically, that has been the case, where you have to have a top 25 offense, top 25 defense. Obviously, it changes quite significantly during the tournament and things like that as well. But as of right now, this train ain't stopping. This train ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
What was it like in there last night, Chief?
One, it was absolutely packed. Like I knew that I needed to leave earlier just because the traffic was going to be heavier, the parking was going to be busier, the crowd getting in was going to be like the lines longer. That building famously struggles with any sort of numbers to try to go through the doors.
It does.
So
also Wi-Fi.
No, yeah. The Wi-Fi was working last night.
Oh, really? Wow, that's good.
Not like exceptionally well, but working. I mean, you could utilize it to send texts and to
that's nice
to get on Twitter, which was also working last night. So, I was still able to get some snarky.
You fired off some tweets. Good job.
Some snarky Big Ten officiating tweets. But yeah, I mean, obviously people are fired up. The game started off kind of slow. And then Nebraska ends up picking up steam like right before half. And you could just tell like Freudian slip, I guess.
Oops.
Dana Altman. And it's sort of
Creighton,
a similar,
Schaefer.
35-point win. I don't remember what it was against Creighton earlier this year. Similar vein, I guess. Just blowing teams out like that are around the same quality. But they Oregon just wasn't even bothering to get back on defense at times. They had a couple sets where Peyton Sanford, I do that every time. Price Sanford is just streaking out after a made basket, 2 passes. He's got the ball in the corner, knocking down a 3 before 2 Oregon players are even across half court.
Yeah,
they clearly did not want to be there. And Nebraska, after early playing with their food, was like, okay, we're putting this down. And then Sanford gets hot. And then there was a stretch where Frager was just unconscious. He found 3 spots on the floor, and he's like, "You're letting me get to these spots. I'm making them."
I just think Nebraska is the kind of team that, like, if they are going to kill those kind of teams who just are a little bit, I don't know, especially at this point in the season for Dana's group. And he would hate to hear this, but they're a little disorganized, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different stuff going on, and they. It's been a rough year for them.
There's guys that weren't in rotations,
right.
And like, so where I'd sit, I have a really good view of just the opposing coach all game long. And basically he was just constantly talking to guys on his bench, pulling in for subs, yelling at players coming off of the court because they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. I mean, it's just, it has to be a brutally frustrating year for him because they, in addition to not having, a key player, what they did have just was haphazard throughout.
Yeah,
the game. And Nebraska eventually got to the point where they ran away with it, and
that's what they're going to do. They are going to beat those kind of teams into an absolute pulp. And so I wasn't surprised to see how that go down that way last night. But then I just transported myself to like it's happening this way, and that's not even the major story. Obviously, the major story is the fact that they're 17-0 and 6-0 in the Big Ten, and they're like,
we were down to 4 undefeated teams.
We're down to 4. Iowa State got smoked last night by KU. I did not see that one coming. But yeah, they're down to 4, and one of them's Miami of Ohio. Which is amazing. So one of 3 high major teams at this point. Is it Vanderbilt?
Yeah, Nebraska's future defensive line coach might go from an undefeated basketball school to an undefeated basketball school.
Is it Vanderbilt, Nebraska, Miami of Ohio, and who?
the number one team in the
Arizona. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. So it's why are you so sarcastic like that?
No, I'm just
the number
I
one
felt
team in
like
the
you had
country.
gotten the more difficult ones, and it's like, well, there's the low-hanging fruit. Just reach up and grab it, pull it down, have yourself a delicious apple of Arizona basketball.
Thank you. Yes, I will, certainly.
I enjoy
but it's
I enjoy
unreal.
the turn back. You're like, wait a minute, why is he being sassy for no reason?
Yeah, why are you being sassy for no reason? It's unreal what they're doing right now. And I don't know, like, I'm curious to hear from you all on this. Is there any more boxes that they need to check? I mean, like, I feel like the answer has to be no in this situation. It has to be. I mean, I'm just along for the ride at this point, and wherever we go, because you already know that they are a like top caliber team in the country. Like, you already know how they're going to play on a nightly basis. Like I said, they're going to pick apart these teams that are just a little bit less organized. And in order for them to lose, you're going to have to be so overwhelmingly talented that it changes the complexion of an individual game that you're in to beat Nebraska battle. Or you're going to have to shoot the lights out, in one night. And I do think, once again, that's like any team in the world in basketball, that's sort of what you're vulnerable to at this point. But you are not going to be more connected than them. It's just, that's it. They are the best in the country, point blank period, at the intangible stuff. And it's the stuff that makes basketball teams good.
Yeah, I mean,
like, they are the best in the country at, like, if you watch them as a coach, you would say, this is exactly what I want my team to be. That's amazing.
In the last 2 minutes of that game, which they're up by 37 or something at that point, Cale Jacobson is wrestling for a jump ball in the middle of a scrum and then diving on the floor with a minute left to try to save a ball. And it just explains who he is. It explains what Nebraska basketball is. There was this outstanding possession where it involved Berke just being a total junkyard collector around the rim, just batting the ball around, getting it, and then reaching around the defender and throwing a pass to the corner to Frager, who knocks down the three because he was able to keep it alive. And it was just him and 3 Oregon Ducks, and he's just up there tipping it around, doing everything he can to get this ball, and then gets it to his teammate, who calmly knocks down the corner 3. I think that's what put him up by 30. Like, it's just all the stuff that for years you'd be watching Nebraska basketball, and it's just like, they don't have a very high IQ. They don't do this. They don't do all of these little things that could make the margin difference for all of these like 5-point losses they have all the time against what you can, are better teams. Now you have this team where it's just in spades. Like, everyone is doing every little piece that they can do. And on a night where you don't have Rink Mass because he picks up three fouls in the whatever minutes that he has, and he's just not as available as you normally would, Bryce Sanford is on a heater.
Yeah.
Frager's on a heater. Lawrence didn't play as well as he did against Indiana. It didn't matter because you had these guys come out and play so well. And then here's the other thing that's just amazing. Oregon was shooting like 58% early in that game, hanging around, and Nebraska's shooting in the 30s. The whole reason that Oregon isn't just pulling away, Sam Hoiberg had 5 steals in the first half. Like, I don't even know how many turnovers they forced on Oregon last night. Like, they're such a fascinating team in how well they're playing defense right now, because you expect the Fred Hoiberg thing to be offense. I'm talking about Frager's shooting,
right,
and I'm talking about Sanford shooting. I mean, that defense just overwhelmed Oregon to the point where, guys were just making business decisions to not even fight for the ball on, bad passes. Like,
16 Oregon turnovers.
Yeah, that's not even as much as it felt like.
16 Oregon turnovers last night. Yeah, I mean, if especially, them without their lead guard and Shellstad, like, Hoiberg is going to mess up whoever.
Hoiberg
he should probably be getting some run for Defensive Player of the Year.
He had
in the conference
this outstanding layup too, where he just weaved between 2 defenders and then put it reverse with the opposite hand up and under the basket. And it's just one of those where it's like, even if you were the most optimistic Sam Hoiberg person imaginable, this version of him just never seemed conceivable over the past couple years.
No.
Really, really, really valuable role player, glue guy, but then just exploding to the basket between two defenders and laying it in just perfectly.
And I've said this before, like, I think there's like a handful of guys in this team where you look at them and you're like, dang, these guys are the perfect guys for this team. And this is a great role for them, that if you put them on in a different situation for a different team, it doesn't work,
Yeah.
but all the pieces work just so well together. Chris writes in on the YouTube chat. He says, Nebraska plays the same way all the time. It doesn't matter what the score of the time is. They make teams beat them and they don't beat themselves. Like, Fred, this has to be the most, like, I say this sort of tongue in cheek. This has to be so challenging for him because, once again, you can't not watch Nebraska basketball and say, oh my God, they're so well coached. They execute so well. They do everything that they're asked to do. They don't talk much, It's not like that kind of team or anything like that. Like, it is.
They've got a couple guys that'll let you know.
Sure. And that's
surprisingly
great.
One of them might be Cale Jacobson, who's somehow always in a scrap.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a defensive enforcer vibe to him.
It's pretty great.
So, but in other words, they are a coach's dream, right? And Fred has created this situation, obviously, because of how good he is. But the challenge that comes with that is you have to do it every single game, and you have to repeat it every single game, and that only comes because, once again, of future Big Ten Coach of the Year Fred Hoiberg's ability to stay even keel with every single thing he does.
And guys like Jamarcus Lawrence and Rink Mass.
And he's got like you said, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. He's got a mean streak too. I mean, he's got a competitive streak that people probably don't give enough, shine enough light on, but they are able to just be the same thing every single night. And then wherever the score lands, the score lands. It's amazing. They don't go up. They don't go down. How many times
Which is wild compared to last year, where it felt like they were a team that went on these massive runs, both winning streaks, losing streaks. And, you talk about getting consistent efforts night in and night out. That was some of what felt like was missing at times last year, where you would be down 15 points at Washington and you're just like, what is this?
What are they doing?
And then they go and they just completely demolish, the Huskies in the second half, do the same thing at Northwestern. It's like, okay, why can't you have this consistency? Now you have this team where it's just like consistency is sort of one of the strengths. If you were to just draw out like, okay, here's what they do really well, you're getting basically the same team every night,
every single night.
And that has to make it easier to coach too.
Oh, it makes it easier, but it's also like, all right, well, where's the, like, what do I have to do today? What's the challenge? You know what I mean? And Fred Hoiberg has no problem in finding that. That's for sure.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Hoosiers? Have you seen Hoosiers?
I actually have. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you surprised by this?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Because movies, it was a basketball movie. And so I figured that at least would draw you into it.
It was pretty recent.
Okay.
For the record, like
nice.
Within the last couple of years for the first time.
How would you feel if we just refer to like Bryce Sanford as Nebraska's Jimmy Chitwood going forward?
I could see that.
It feels like there's a similar jump shot there. There's a similar just kind of vibe overall. He shows up on the team. They're different on the court.
He's kind of just like
kind of like Frager is the guy who has to punch the player and the fracas.
Definitely. I'm sorry.
The comparisons
Sanford,
largely just stop there. I want Sanford to be Nebraska's Jimmy Chitwood.
He's kind of just like a no frills guy,
Yeah.
He just goes out there and very quietly and calmly does his thing.
I could see him telling Fred he'll make it though. Like Fred's drawing something up for somebody else, and he's like, "I'll make it.
I'll make it."
Yeah. The picket fence. I'll make it.
Text from the 402. This is an interesting question. Connor, how would Tominaga have looked on this team?
I think
probably a lot better. I guess you could put anybody from the history of Nebraska basketball on this team with this core, and it probably looks a little better. But at the same time, like you're taking somebody out.
Yeah, so like
right?
I guess you're sacrificing defense somewhere.
But I always thought that he was sort of a pest on defense enough, enough to
it's
bother
just
people, but he wouldn't be like, you would be putting him in the Sam role,
right? So
which
then
is
you don't
not
have Sam.
Yeah, that's
So
not good.
it's difficult because I think you add a lot. Like if all of a sudden you have him and Sanford and Mast and Lawrence and Burke, like that's a dangerous group. And his ability to shoot from anywhere opens up Sanford, and Sanford's ability to shoot from anywhere opens him up. Then meanwhile, Lawrence is just hiding in the corner.
Tominaga was weirdly the right guy for his team because he they needed a crazy shot maker, and last year they needed Bryce Williams, who
Frager is the closest to Tominaga in terms of comparison, even though physically there's nothing similar.
Just like the creator aspect,
just the guy that, the irrational confidence that I can, I'm just going to take this shot. Like, this is the spot I want to be at. You might be standing here. I'm shooting it anyways. Mm-hmm. And there's at least a 40% chance it's going in.
That's what the stats say.
And that's basically what Tominaga was too. Yep. And so I think, it would be weird how that rotation would look. And then like we said, you'd have to take somebody out. And then at that point, what are you sacrificing? Again, this is a team built through defense.
Yep.
Like they are at
Starts
their
there.
Absolute best when they have you discombobulated and then they just play on top of you. Like that's just what they do. And they never really let you off the mat.
It is going to be very difficult to score against them in really any way, shape, or form. And it's not because of their extreme athletic length or anything like that. It's just because
it's challenging.
And it's a great, once again, I think we mentioned this yesterday. Anytime you talk about Nebraska's defense, you do have to talk about Nate Lenzer, because more than anything for Nebraska, it sort of is about
future coaching candidate somewhere.
It's about scheme for them on defense, and that I do not mean that as a knock at all. It is about scheme for them, because they're not the most athletic team in the world. You looked at the team before here and you're like, oh, look at those guys.
They have to play in such a way that you hide some deficiencies, and then you make up for it with you get this buy-in where everybody is flying around all the time.
Right.
All the time.
As Zach writes in on the Equitable Bank inbox, he says, I don't think Casey is the guy. I think it would have been fascinating to see Bryce McGowan's on this team, so he wouldn't have to be the only option. If he was surrounded by these players, especially the leadership, he could have been special. I agree, but right. It's weird how we're sort of adding in players from the past, and I almost don't want to take anyone out because I don't want to upset the apple cart for this team at all, because I think it's just the perfect mix. Well, it would have been fun to see Bryce McGowan's on this team because of the creativeness and the ability that he has to just do things athletically that guys on this team just don't. But that being said, Price is a really good athlete, and then you have Berke, who is able to add the size aspect to the playmaking a little bit. But I don't want to take anybody out.
Here's an easier swap. If you could go back to last year and you get a healthy Rink Mast and you switch a season with Sanford and you have Bryce Williams instead of Jamarcus Lawrence.
Yeah.
What that looks like, I couldn't even begin to explain to you.
Yeah.
Because then you have just this level of scoring all over the court that is just phenomenal.
Right. And
the ball handling takes a little bit of a hit though.
Yeah. And Frager is already turned into your late in the shot clock, go get something guy. It's just such a good mix.
I had no idea when I walked into the first game what Frager was going to be. I had heard from people that he can definitely fill it up, but who knows what you're going to get in terms of consistency. And then from that first game forward, I've just been absolutely stunned. But you just don't see these guys at Nebraska. It sounds insane because they're having such a good season and you don't want to fast forward by any of it. I just want to know what he looks like with another year of development into next year, where it's going to be a little bit different of a team. You would conceivably have Berke and Sanford back, and you'd have Frager as part of that. Esijan potentially coming off the bench, healthy. I mean, and just another year of Frager. He is a matchup nightmare for people. He really is.
Yep.
I mean, this is the same guy who hit multiple threes in back-to-back possessions, just off the dribble, torched a defender, threw down a ferocious dunk, I don't know if you saw the dunk.
I saw the dunk.
Just a one-handed, I think it was a left-handed dunk.
Yeah.
You just blew by the guy.
I thought the one in Indiana was better, but
yeah, I mean he's got a compilation.
He's got a little bit of a dunk package.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? So yeah. By the way, so Dana Altman, who you will likely see this spring at Checkfest. He said last night after the game something to the effect of, "Hey, look, I don't want to jinx them, but I think they're going to do it this year."
Thanks,
and then the professional critiquers online said, "Wait a minute, are you actually trying to jinx them by saying I'm not trying to jinx them?"
The reverse jinx by mentioning jinx would be a really...
I'm definitely not trying to jinx them.
Why are you winking?
I'm definitely not trying to jinx them. You had a question about Dana Altman, right?
Yeah, well, it's essentially, do we think that this is a worse experience for him this year than
it's got to be
30 seconds in Arkansas?
It's got to be pretty rough. Although he did look really uncomfortable when he was saying "Woo Pig Suey" that one time. People forget.
That was such a strange day.
What a strange day indeed.
You'd watch that. Like, I was in college, came back from classes. I'm watching that press conference, and it's just like, man, that kid.
That's weird. And then later that night, he was back. He was back.
It's always different in the South, they say.
Yeah, it's definitely different in Arkansas. I can confirm that. That's for sure. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back around at the hour. I want to hear from you guys in Nebraska. We didn't get a chance to get to your comments much, but we'll take your thoughts. The truth is, like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I will keep coming on the air every single day and saying, I can't believe how connected they are. I can't believe how they've been able to maximize this so much. I can't believe what Fred has done with this group. I can't believe they're 17-0. 18-0, 19-0, 20-0, like whatever it gets to. I can't believe they're a projected 1 seed, right? Like, I can't, but I want to find a different angle. I want to find a different slant, but I just don't know what it is. Because the story is they're so good.
Yeah.
It's just too good.
Well, let's see if they can continue it. That's your slant. That's your angle. That's
you're going to try and make me be the jinx.
Well, no, I mean, that's just where we're at.
Okay.
We're on to Northwestern.
On to Northwestern, I suppose. All right. We'll take a quick timeout and be back after this on Happer Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. But first, a word from our friends at Underdog Fantasy, where the football playoffs are here. Underdog is the best place to get in on all the gridiron action. You can make picks and win money right now in Nebraska. Plenty to look forward to, of course, this weekend. And so we invite you to play on Underdog. It's very easy. All you have to do is pick your favorite players and pick them to go higher or lower in stat categories like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. Get those right. And you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. The quarterbacks this weekend, whether it be the running backs, the receivers, whatever it might be, you're interested in higher or lower. And you could check that out on Underdog today. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code HAPPER1620 to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. Promo code HAPPER1620. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 19 plus and present in Nebraska. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms_DFS_.html for details. Get started with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, college basketball fever all around the country. So Nebraska, one of now 4 undefeateds left in the in America. Also, one of the 4, Miami of Ohio. Did you see what Miami of Ohio is doing for a ticket promotion right now?
No.
That makes sense.
No.
I don't know why you would have, but I did come across this yesterday. So they put out a graphic for their next game on January 17th, which is Saturday. Upgrade your tickets. Show proof of your season ticket for any other college hoops team in Southwest Ohio at the Millett Hall box office and come check out the best basketball in the area for only $10.
Hey, I like it.
What do you think?
It's basically like, look, you have tickets to a worse team. For $10, you can have tickets to a better team.
Many, many college basketball teams in Ohio, and specifically in Southwest Ohio. And they are taking advantage. I'd say that's a pretty decent troll.
Have you spent much time in just Ohio in general?
No.
Yeah.
I've driven through.
It's a large state.
I think I stopped at a gas station in Toledo.
Yeah.
Or near Toledo.
I've been to the 3 C's. I've driven through Toledo, but otherwise I've only spent time in Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati.
I guess I flew into Cleveland to go to Pittsburgh one time. That was for the NCAA tournament a couple years ago.
Short enough drive, yeah.
Yeah, it was like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something like that. That was nice.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get into Pittsburgh for some reason. But that's about my only experience with Ohio. I haven't been to a football game
I have
there.
no idea the southwest corner of Ohio. I have not spent any time over there.
No.
I can't tell you anything about life.
I don't know the difference between Southwest Ohio and Northwest Ohio and Northeast Ohio.
Northwest Ohio is Toledo. It's basically Michigan.
Middle Ohio.
Middle Ohio.
What's going on in Middle Ohio? Let's see if Mike Schaefer knows his Ohio geography.
I mean, a little bit.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you are a Guardians fan, so I would think you would at least have a
like Cincinnati, very south near Kentucky.
Oh yeah, you know what? I was in Ohio this past year for the Big East baseball tournament at Prasco Park.
Okay, yeah,
that's just outside of Cincinnati. I forgot that was in Ohio. Seriously, because you get to the airport and you're in Kentucky, and then you're like, oh, there's Cincinnati right there, and then you go by Cincinnati, and then you go to Prasco Park and you eat stuff for free.
Yeah, it's basically Cincinnati.
It basically is.
Their baseball stadium is super underwhelming. Was very, very underwhelmed
Reds?
by a great American ballpark.
We a bunch of the guys went to the Reds game. They were playing the Cubs, and I thought about going, and I'm not sure why I didn't. Probably because it was like a 30-minute drive to get back down there, and I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. But everybody said they had a good experience.
It's not that the
ballpark.
park is bad. It's just relative to other ones, it kind of just felt like a larger AAA park.
Yeah, so Cincinnati is in Southwest Ohio. You got Columbus kind of in the middle. Dayton's in between those. Akron, Cleveland in the Northeast.
Toledo in the far.
Youngstown.
Yeah. Did you say Southwest for Cincinnati? Isn't it more like Southeast?
Not Southwest.
No,
And then
just Southwest.
Just a little north of Cincinnati is Dayton.
Yeah, definitely Southwest.
Okay, I have to look at the shape.
It's it's pretty close to Indianapolis. Like,
I know that
it's an hour out of Indianapolis. So
yeah, it's pretty close to the Indiana border.
There you go. They got Skyline Chili in both of those towns, and then Eastern Ohio, you're going into you got some Akron, you got some Canton. Before you get into
Canton, forget about Canton.
Canton.
The Hall of Fame.
Southeast is Appalachia.
South. Oh yeah, you're right. You get a little bit of everything in Ohio,
you get the
including cheap tickets to a basketball game if you show your season tickets to another school.
Yes.
Old man Doug writes in. He's got a variety of different things. Bryce McGowan's would not make this team better. They are the ultimate perfect chemistry team. No real superstars, but they hustle. They make plays like they're supposed to. I'd rather have Sanford than Casey. Actually, I think I agree with Doug on that. We kind of got into it, and I was like, yeah, I actually don't want to sub anybody out. I'm good.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to see what it looked like with literally any other
17-0. I get it.
Yeah. Doug also says, we'll talk about this later. He says, now that we've portaled our entire offensive line, surprised we haven't seen more portal additions. I have to say that I'm baffled we haven't found a starter out of the last 2 or 3 offensive lineman classes we recruited out of high school. He has 5 opinions, by the way. Number 3, on the shot at the end of regulation. Now he's talking about the Creighton game. I didn't see an official make any call good or no good. Did I miss that? Yes, you did. Evan Burrows had the good right away at half court. So good. You're Creighton, by the way. We'll talk about them. Is a literal video frame away from their season being over right now. They're not dead yet, but
I have not seen it.
They are a literally one frame away.
From what I understand,
it
could not have gotten closer.
I don't think I've seen it closer. Before.
That's what I heard.
I think it was payback
from home
for the Sam Hauser situation. That would be my guess. Also, he says Creighton was extremely lucky to win last night. The defense was atrocious, and actually, they would have had to have defense to be atrocious. Also, he says, Connor, you need to do a little Let's Go Jays this morning. Your effort was good last night. Hey, man, we were trying. We had a lot of different stuff going on. A lot of different stuff last night. All right, let's take a break. We will come back the 7 o'clock hour. We'll talk about that new addition on the offensive line and plenty more as we go. It is the Happer and Schaefer show, also known as Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. Happy to announce that I'm checking out my first Sports Center top 10 in probably, I don't know, a decade. No, it's not that long, but this is great. We get to watch the highlights from
last night.
Ooh, that's a big dunk by Michigan State.
That game was I got to get better at that. We got to decide, Joey. Am I turning on my own microphone or are you turning it on? We gotta make that decision. But
there's some mechanical. Schaefer, we got to get you plugged in. We got to get your microphone on. We got to get you in the. We got to get your email going.
I'm watching you. I'm watching you.
Joey is the angel.
So I'm just used to like things being done a certain way, and so then I've got to adjust. Everyone's got to make the adjustment.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
But what I was gonna say is that Indiana was within 5 in that game, and then lost to Michigan State by 21 points.
Is that right?
I think the final was like 81-60, and that highlight you just watched,
81-60.
Yeah. So it was with 10 minutes. They scored 7 points in the last 10 minutes of the game.
They did indeed. That is what the KenPom says. 21-7 in the quote unquote fourth quarter.
That is horrendous
of that game. Which is more horrendous, that or Georgetown scoring on 16?
Didn't even know that was a thing until I was reading the YouTube comments.
16
so shout out
consecutive
YouTube.
Possessions.
Educating.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, especially by a team that lost. I
don't know how you don't win the game if you're like 4 possessions for the entirety of the second half, which then also speaks to how horrible Georgetown's defense must have been.
Yeah. Well, it mostly speaks to how nuts Austin Swartz went in the final. I mean, they were down. Creighton was down by 7 with 95 seconds left.
And Georgetown was still scoring and then didn't win.
That's right. You got it.
I just don't.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense.
They played defense in the last 90 seconds.
Sometimes the math does not really work for you, but it makes it go. All right, let's talk about Nebraska football here for a little bit as we welcome you back. Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Yes, if you're new here, it's Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, and Joey Colbert with you in the mornings from 6 to 10. Nebraska got an offensive lineman commit yesterday out of the portal from LSU, Paul Mabanga, which is a great name.
It was we were on air when Jeep Wade fired off that tweet, and
it was him.
You wondered.
It was him,
and it was Paul Mbunga.
Is it Mbunga?
Mbunga? I don't know.
I don't know. It looks like Mabanga.
Mabanga. It would probably be
We can go with whatever at this point, because I don't exactly know what it is. But they've already added Tree Babalade. They've already added Brendan Black. I think it's to be determined on which is a starter out of that group. Black, I'm pretty sure is.
Yeah, I think Brendan Black is still the highest rated transfer they brought in so far.
So that's a plug and play guy for sure. And then with the other two, Babalade and Mabenga, you can. I think they're maybe both being viewed as like swing pieces. Are they guards? Are they tackles?
Mm-hmm.
Added depth there. And then you still have a couple guys that you're bringing back from last year. They have sort of reshaped this offensive line here in the transfer portal with really notable size and quite a decent amount of experience too.
And this isn't insignificant, because I think at one point in time there was a real fear that Justin Evans was going to go into the portal. And once
again, that's another one where you just haven't had guys go into the portal.
Yeah. Lost in sort of a season in which the offensive line really struggled. I thought Justin Evans was like borderline all conference level good for Nebraska. And so that was by far the lineman that I thought had the best season, the guy that was the most important to me that they needed to keep on that line as we got into the portal. And so you start with that at center and you build out from there. And it sure looks like Pritchett's coming back. And if you can kind of get a little bit of different coaching, a little different offensive philosophy. There was times where Elijah Pritchett was dominant last year.
I agree. Not enough people talk about
that. Issues were so pre-snap, more than they were post-snap. And so if you can get him locked into that, and then you fill in these other spots. And
I just think history shows that a guy is going to be better the second year in a program. I mean, point blank period.
Generally, you always have the exceptions. Of
course. But and most of the time when they're not, it's freshman to sophomore or freshman to redshirt freshman or something like that, where you just haven't seen a
Or
great
it's
sample size.
the
Like this guy
curious
was a
case of-
starter for the majority of
Yeah.
last year. He's going to be a starter next year. Like I'm pretty much willing to guarantee that he's going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, or it's just a curious case of Tommy Hill, and
Yeah, nobody understands that.
still don't understand that. I don't understand how he went from someone that was mocked as a first-round draft pick to just out of football.
He probably shouldn't have been mocked as a first-round draft pick.
No, he probably shouldn't have, but at the same time, like, go back
That's
to
how.
watching the end of the 23 season, he was outstanding.
Yeah.
Like, he was that good.
Yeah. And
then
before that, he was a wide
got hurt.
receiver.
Yeah, right. Well, his whole career is just kind of a
Yeah.
you know, question mark in itself. But and then he gets hurt, and from that point forward,
Right.
not
And-
the same.
And so you've recreated, you've reshaped your offensive line here, with like I
Which
said,
is what people wanted.
some experience, which is what I think what people wanted. I think most people wanted defensive line, which
Well, yeah, but at the same time, you can't spend all of last year complaining about how bad the pass protection is, how bad the offensive line
Yeah.
is. You can't be me and talk about how bad they are in short yardage situation and not at least acknowledge they've gone out and they've gotten multiple offensive linemen at the power 4 level
Yeah.
that have experience.
I think there's reason to be excited about it. I mean,
You have 2 new voices in that room, and Teasley and Wade. Wade, clearly someone that already has the respect of the fan base.
the thing is, like, I don't love that, there's all these new pieces coming in and you have the new coach, and it just
A
feels
lot
like
of new. It's not what you want in year 4.
no, it's not. And that's
You got a
that-
new quarterback on
that's-
top of it.
that's the problem. And this is not me arguing that they should have kept the previous offensive line coach, because I just don't think that was, it just wasn't going well enough.
This is you arguing that wholesale change everywhere isn't always the best bet.
Correct. It might feel good in the moment, and I think there is a lot of offseason national championship banners to prove that. I think, hey, knew this is going to change, this is going to get fixed. Yeah, I don't like it. It always takes time, and that's why I said what I said about Pritchett. Like, you get him back for his second year in the program. History shows that guys coming back for their second year in a program, they get better. And so now we have all these first-year guys in the program, and some of which are going to be dependent on to start. Not that I have concerns about any of them individually. It's just, what situation are they walking into?
And what does the offense look like? What is Nebraska looking to accomplish? All of these things.
And can Jeep Wade be this year's Mike Eckler?
We're transitioning to something else here?
No,
Okay, all right.
no.
I didn't know if we were getting into the Eckler conversation.
I mean, there's if you could have a place, Schaefer. Here's a good Mike Schaefer question: if you could have a position group that gets night and day different, just any position group, regardless of the scheme and all that different stuff, just like position group performs better.
It's a defensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to kind of what you talked about.
So you need Corey Brown to
initially.
this year's Eckler, I guess.
So yeah, I mean, but some of it is like they have enough talent over there that you want to see them. Like, I want to see the best version of Riley Van Poppel. I want to see, you mentioned we're talking about Elijah Pritchett in the context of year 1 to year 2. Williams Nwaneri. Like, if you're getting 5-star elite defensive lineman Williams Nwaneri, like, what does that do for Nebraska overall defensively? If you've got just an absolute wrecking ball, and you combine that with rock solid Riley Van Poppel
Quite a
playing
lot.
and Cam Lenhart, sort of, my fear with Lenhart has always been that what you were getting at the beginning is what you're going to get in the end. They kind of got him maxed out. That was why
There's value there, though.
teams sort of moved off of him, is that physically maybe he was maxed out to what he was. But you got Cade Petchock, and you have Malcolm Simpson, and you have Tyson Terry, and you have the guys that they brought in, whether it's Jashir Whittington or Andrew
Anthony Jones.
Andy, how's it?
Oh,
pronounced?
Berberia. Yeah.
Berberia. And so they have some very interesting pieces on the defensive line. If that group comes in and has like the 2025 special teams type run, the ceiling for your season goes up.
No doubt.
I mean, if you have a dominant defensive line in college football, you are a problem for everybody. And so that would be the obvious answer.
So it's possible, although it's tough to expect, that's for sure. Let's take a phone call here on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Here is Brian. Hey, Brian, good morning.
Morning. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Hey, when's the transfer portal closed?
Friday.
Yep.
That's just the last day that you can enter. People will still be committing after that.
And paperwork
Okay.
will push it so guys will be announced as coming in Saturday or Sunday, but they have to have stuff largely done behind the scenes before then. So basically by the end of Sunday, you're not going to hear about any more entries.
Okay. So, Rule said in the well, not. I guess that wasn't the offseason. But anyway, he said he needed this money for the transfer portal. So where's all the studs that we're supposed to be getting? I don't see it. We're not really getting very many good players.
Yeah,
We don't have a running back.
Concerning. I agree with that. I agree with that. Brian, thanks.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, keep going. Go ahead.
And then that defensive lineman you brought in for, I think it was from Pittsburgh. I don't understand that one, I guess. It's just kind of funny. He needs the most money, and he's the worst coach on campus right now.
And Brian, thanks for
of all the sports programs.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Nebraska, thanks for the call, Brian. Nebraska football is lacking behind pretty much every other program right now. I don't know that that's new compared to the last few years here.
Well, just
especially considering Nebraska men's basketball is really taking an uptick.
But then, I mean, women's basketball had their run to start the year, and so
they've always been good. I mean, they've been good consistently under Amy.
But it was the sort of running joke that, between volleyball at one point, women's basketball and men's basketball and football, only one program had lost.
Yep.
Like that's, and then wrestling being a top 10 team.
Where do you I mean, we haven't talked about this bigger picture yet, because I think this is a common sentiment, what Brian just said from fans. It is, hey, look, you told us before the season ended that we have everything we need to go out and do whatever we want in the portal. And I think my guess would be the response from the coaching staff is, this is what we want. Like we are doing what we want, and we are using the money in an effective and an efficient manner. Like, we don't know if that's the case, but when you say stuff like we have the money to really compete with the best, people will start expecting to get guys that they've heard of. People will start expecting stars and production and all of these different things, which, by the way, like, that might have been a miscorrelation in the first place. I don't even, and for the record too, like, the Whittington guy, well, I don't see the problem with him. So Brian added that into the conversation too. But I don't know. Where are you at on the whole money thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always been relatively skeptical that Nebraska just has this massive bag.
Yeah,
that's
me too.
Always been going all the way back to when NIL was sort of introduced, and it would kind of like, well, Nebraska is this place where, you have this fan support and their collective should be able to do this and should be able to do that. It's never been that.
I think
you have a small subset of people that have propped up Nebraska's ability to be competitive, and at some point the money is just not always going to be there if the team doesn't start winning. I mean, so you need all of that to come into conjunction.
They're
the
fine.
Point that you were making,
they are fine.
Yeah.
They are fine from a money perspective,
right? But they're not ever going to be Oregon, Texas Tech. They're not Ohio State. Like, they're not in that playground. Which, whatever. The point you were making that I think is most important is that when Matt Rule says that, people want to just assume that means they can go out and money whip whoever they can and get whatever they want. What Nebraska is doing, quietly or effectively, I don't know how you want to phrase it, they're plugging a lot of holes because they sucked at evaluating and developing to get to this point. They are bringing in all these offensive linemen because they don't like the offensive linemen that they've recruited to be at the point where you're turning it over to a Preston Talmua or to a Grant Bricks or to the tackles that they brought in. So you have that. You're going and getting a safety or multiple defensive backs. And I'm guessing Dwayne McDougal is getting more than Evans and the other guy from Towson. I can't think of his name. Shiggs. Because despite Evan Cooper and John Butler and Addison Williams' best efforts to bring in seemingly 30 freshman defensive backs over the last 4 years, you don't like Andrew Marshall is going to, Sierra Wright was one of your starters. You've had to use the portal for this a lot. You're going to get Owen Chambliss at linebacker and the kid from Oregon State. I got to really work on remembering.
Oh, hey, we'll get
is
there.
It Dexter Foster?
I believe that's right.
Yeah.
Good
So
job.
you have to plug all of these holes. So it's not like you're just turning around and you're spending $4 million on one player. You're having to spread this out because you have all of these different things. And then the one area where you felt like you did really, really well was the defensive line, and it didn't play like that last year. And so you're caught between you want to go get defensive linemen to help you, and that's where Whittington and Anthony Jones and everything else. But at the same time, you also really still want to bet on the Van Poppels and Winery and Malcolm Simpson and Terry and Petchock and all of them. Keona Davis, I think they would have loved to have had him return. So it's, they're spending the money. The money is there in the sense that they have it. They're just having to spread it out to all of these different spots.
They really have. I mean, this is the last 2
we
off
haven't even
seasons.
talked about the fact that you had to go get a quarterback. And then the argument is, okay, well, Dylan Raiola's pot of money goes back in. How are you reinvesting that? Potentially you're saving money for a running back. We don't know yet. You whatever Gilmer is getting, that's another wide receiver, which is a position that you've recruited heavily. So far, you've protected guys from going into the portal, and that's also where the money comes in.
I think that's notable. Yeah.
So, you have to, we talk about it like there's this infinite vast pool of money, which isn't true. And then we talk about it like you don't need 70 some players to operate on a football team. So it all has to work in conjunction.
Yeah.
And so money has to be lighter somewhere, heavier somewhere else. And then if you're going to go get 3 transfer portal offensive linemen, that's going to cost, like, they're not coming in cheap.
Right. So in short, I think the answer to Brian's question is like, they are spending money.
Yeah. It's just that it has to be spread out across all the different holes that you're filling because you didn't recruit well enough on the front end of it.
Right. And that's an issue.
So, that it all comes back to when Matt Rule got here, I didn't think that they were going to have to be a big portal heavy team because traditionally he had built through development.
I felt like they really had something after that first year. And then a lot of those guys left. And, I think, and then things changed in between year one and year two.
This is again, it comes down to, you need the guys that you bring in. You need the Grant Brickses. You need them to be in the development track where you don't have to go get a Brendan Black.
Yeah, I thought the thing for Rule, and maybe
that's not to say that Brendan Black is a huge get for them, but like your resources are going towards that, and you spent all of this time and effort on these high school offensive linemen. They need to be developed.
Maybe this is more bigger picture, but I thought what they were doing at first, was the whole idea was, we're going to bring in these young players, we're going to let them play, they're going to develop, and by the 3rd and 4th year, they're going to be really good. And then they couldn't. That's in a nutshell what they did at Baylor and Temple. And then a lot of those guys didn't stay, and then you, for whatever reason, felt like going into year 2, all right, we have to we have to sort of make this jump. I think the quarterback probably played a role into that. And it was almost the same thing going. So you were balancing, like you were trying to serve 2 different sort of like ideas for how you wanted to build your program at once. And now, not surprising to anybody, we've looked up at the end of 3 years, and everybody's like, well, I don't know really what they're doing. I don't know what they're trying to. This sounds harsh, and it's certainly harsher than I intend it to mean. But like, I don't really know what they're intending to do.
They don't know. Like here's the misconception. We put people in these positions because we believe that they have a plan. Do you think
I think they did have a plan, though, and then I don't know. And then
they weren't able to execute that plan.
Right,
so then you have to have a new plan.
Or they didn't stick to it.
And then the question is, did they execute that new plan? And the answer, I don't think so. I think they're on their 3rd iteration of a plan.
Yeah.
Which right now, if we're honest, is get as many people as you can, throw it at the wall, and hope to win 6 games next year.
It's a bit reactionary, and I think that's a thing that is
Because it didn't start how they wanted it.
Yeah.
Which comes back to when you come in, getting the right pieces, setting yourself up. You also have to win the games that you're supposed to win, which is something they haven't done.
My biggest thing with not biggest, but one of the things that I pretty consistently said with Frost was as bad as the first half of that first year was, they had an identity, right? Like at the end of the first year, they had an identity. That was a confident coaching staff. Like they knew what they wanted to do and how they wanted to build it. And then after that first year ended and going into the second year, it felt like it was a different thing. He had the whole the Big Ten's going to adjust to us thing. After the first year, that was not the sentiment anymore. It was very, very different. It was like, we have to get bigger. We have to get bigger now. Like we have to do this right now. And I wish that they would have just stuck with the first thing. I wish they would have just
couldn't.
I wish they would have just kept being them.
They didn't recruit to that.
They
lost
changed
Mike
it.
Riley players, and it's similar to where Matt Rule is
and that's
at.
what I'm saying. That was the correlation that I was making. Like I something changed.
Yeah.
Something changed, and now something's changed again. Like I wish they would have just done the original plan. Like. And it's so frustrating because
I guess my argument to that is if they did the original plan, they would bottom out faster.
Maybe, but at least you did it your way.
Gold on the original plan.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some of it is you're having to replace the pieces that
I would like to see an uninterrupted, steadfast, nose down. Like, I don't care about what people say. This is the way we're going to do this, and it will work. That was Matt Rule at first. He was saying all that stuff. He is not saying that anymore. He shouldn't be saying it anymore. I don't know, but I don't know what he's saying, I guess. But like that's not how it looks from the outside anymore.
Right.
They don't seem very confident anymore, and I'm sure they are confident in their ability to get
their
it
bets
done.
didn't hit. Their bets as a coaching staff didn't hit. Their bets in player development didn't hit. Their bets with Corey Campbell haven't hit. Like he placed a bunch of bets when he got here in 2022. And largely,
like Matt doing futures,
unlike Matt doing futures,
he did not win them. Yeah,
though Matt Rule has significantly more money than Matt with his futures bets.
Indeed,
does, I guess. But it's just it's a thing where they have to adjust, and I think some of it is Matt Rule came back to college football thinking that it was 2019, and it was well beyond 2019.
Sure.
And it had switched enough at that point. And then there was just decisions in there. Keeping Donovan Raiola was a decision, and it was probably the wrong one. Choosing Dylan Raiola over Kyle McCord, again, it's maybe I think that's a decision you make 10 out of 10 times, but you look back on it, I think they're in a different spot as a program if they go with Kyle McCord.
That I agree with, but I also agree with
it's
they
hard.
had to do it.
And they had to say that like Matt Rule missed on obvious stuff, but it also comes back to we wouldn't be having as many of these conversations if they just did things in games.
That's true.
It's the thing that's always frustrating about the Scott Frost and the Matt Rule and even Mike Riley to a degree is that there's the stuff that's happening in the offseason. There's the stuff that you can nitpick in terms of player development and player procurement and all of that. But then where it really seems to always backfire is when it's on the field and you have the opportunity to beat a UCLA or a Michigan State or these teams in November that you should just win those games and you can move on, or you have a chance to get by Iowa in 23 and 24 and you just can't do it. And it all adds up onto each other. So we're not having these conversations if they would have went 7-5 in 2024 and 8-4 in 2025. We'd be talking about how you're building up off of it. But instead, it's like, well, they got to win now and look at that schedule. So what does this offseason present? They have to fill a bunch of holes with veterans that they don't even know if they can really trust.
Yeah, you're still playing catch up.
Because they don't have a foundation.
Yes.
They're 3 years in and they don't have a foundation.
Yeah. And it's past the point, I think, of let's start a foundation. You know what I mean? Like nobody cares about that anymore. It's just like you have to win. It's year 4.
Exactly.
You know,
And that's what's people. I think
if at the end of 2026 they go 7-5 again or something like that, and
I think they'd be fortunate to go 7-5 again.
let's just say they go 7-5 again. But the narrative at the end of the year is like that was they wouldn't say this out loud, but like that was year one. We're building. We start like you're 4 times less willing to hear that because it's year 4. You know, it's year 4, and then you still run the risk going into 2026 of oh well, what if this doesn't click again and we literally bottom out? Is this over? You know?
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things to figure out is if Nebraska is in this same spot where they're 7-5 and 6-6, and if you can really ask yourself at the end of the 2026 season, have we seen progress over 3 years? The record is largely going to be the same. Now, it could feel different if what we see out of the transfer portal clicks, and who's to say that they couldn't go 8-4 or whatever. We don't know what this iteration of Nebraska is going to look like.
Yeah, the schedule.
But if they find
the schedule
themselves,
fearmongers are always going to be out there.
If they find themselves in that 6-6, 7-5, it feels like you plateaued territory. Then next year's offseason is like, well, what are you going to do that's different? And then they have to reinvent themselves again. And we're still not building off of, the middle. And then it's like, well, now you have Trey Taylor and you're back to a freshman quarterback. And what does that look like? And how does that play out? And everything else.
Yeah. It's a vicious cycle we're in, I believe.
Why, again, the amount of not being able to secure wins in 23 and 24 and 25 will catch up to you in 26. I think people could have been more forgiving of, that's a tough schedule. Maybe Dylan still left. You don't have your quarterback. And you went from going 9-3 this past year, 8-4 to you drop back to 7-5, but your team plays hard. People could have been forgiving with that. You didn't win some of the gimmies.
Yep. And
you own that. And I don't think Matt Rule's always done a great job of just acknowledging like, hey, you know what? We let some stuff go and it shouldn't have been that way. Sometimes he does it. And then other times he's like weirdly defiant about it. And I don't get it because ultimately you've had to reinvent so many times. You don't always get that opportunity. You don't get to build a new staff next year.
No.
If you have to
no.
If you have to build another staff, Troy Dannon has to look at that and think, all right, I'm going to have to find someone that's going to eat this money.
Way too much. Way too much.
Because you can't keep reinventing. You don't get that.
Chris writes in on the text line. He says, I've been listening for 5 minutes and you haven't mentioned Husker basketball. Haters.
I mean,
Schaefer, you are a famous Husker basketball hater.
Famously hating Nebraska basketball.
I think that one was a little bit more sarcastic. At least I'll give Chris the benefit of the doubt on it. John writes in, he says this, Nebraska will be 5-7 at best in 2026, and they can't fire Rule until at least after 2029.
That's not true.
I don't believe that either. No.
I mean,
things will, if things are bad, there's a way.
Hopefully the schedule plays in their favor next year.
Because
they got 3 teams from the college football playoff
indeed
on that lineup.
One of them might be quarterbacked by Dylan Raiola. Fun. All right, let's take a break. More thoughts from you all as we return. Plenty more to come on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. Yesterday, the Kansas City Royals had an announcement for everybody. They said that they were moving in the fences at Kauffman Stadium by 10 feet, lowering the fence's height from 10 feet to 8 feet. Apparently, the Royals analytics department took a very, very close look at this offseason. They looked at the way that their team is built, and they decided, you know what? We actually have the ability to change this. We to a certain extent, we are hamstrung by our ballpark and the situation that we were in the weather and all those different things. But also, you've seen this as a trend around baseball now, Schaefer, who is a baseball man. Baseball man. You could just change this. I don't know that I love the trend of changing it, all the time just to adjust to your team, but the Royals are going to play in a more neutral park now, it seems.
Yeah, that I was looking at some of the baseball people I follow, and they were reacting to this, and then they were doing their statistical analysis. And largely, it just led to most of the core of the Royals projections adding 2 home runs. So, like 2 more for Bobby Witt, 2 more for Salvi, 2 more for Michael Garcia, 2 more for Jack. So,
Jags.
I mean,
have you heard that Bobby Witt Jr. is going to win the MVP this year?
I have not heard this.
Oh, yeah, you've heard it now. It's true.
Interesting. Is he's going to win it over the likes of Aaron Judge and everyone else?
Yep.
I wish him the best of success.
Thank you.
As someone whose favorite player has finished in the top 3 of MVP voting.
Yeah.
And largely who just came up short because he's not Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge.
Uh-huh.
It's a tough hill to climb.
Hey, Bobby's got a little bit of a star to him. I understand, but it's
got to be there statistically, and then the Royals have to win.
I'm just telling you now. Yeah, they're going to the playoffs. He's going to win the MVP.
You have confidence this year.
Yeah, I do.
I like it.
I do. I think it's the perfect storm. Last year was down enough where it feels like you could play up enough this year, and this helps a little bit. It gets a couple more home runs out of it. It's funny. Like like I said, we've seen this as a trend in baseball. We don't have to talk about this for too long, but I don't really like the trend of just doing this to manufacture more home runs, even though that's where the game is going. But like I said, it's your ballpark. Do whatever you want for it. What do you think about this idea? Like in baseball, we have parks that are way hitter friendly. We have parks that are way pitcher friendly. And now we're losing a little bit of that, where a famously pitcher friendly ballpark now becomes just a little bit more neutral in terms of that spread.
Yeah, I think we need like a couple years to sort of see it all play out, to see if there is this big of an impact. If it's, because when Baltimore did it and they went from being a massive place for right-handed power to just being a graveyard if you're a right-handed hitter trying to go out in left field. I mean, it had a big impact, and it kind of changed how, some of their players would have been valued and how some of their players played. I'm curious if it'll have that same effect for the Royals. That's something to certainly keep an eye on. I think, though, baseball teams, largely the good ones, have been smart about how they're building their roster to whatever their stadiums are. I think that's why baseball stadiums are generally more fascinating than anywhere else.
Yeah.
You go to a football, you go to one dome football field. You've been to Lucas Oil. You've been to US Bank. You've been to Mercedes-Benz. You've been to any of the great dome stadiums. They're all nice. They're all incredibly nice. Still just 100-yard football field.
Yeah. I wish we were able to keep the uniqueness a little bit more. And there are advantages to having
I don't know that they lose it too much.
No, the visuals, I guess, are most of it. But one of the advantages of having a pitcher-friendly park is that you could build your roster to it, or a hitter-friendly park, you could build your roster to it. That way, it's unique. But on the flip side of the coin, I believe it's having such a drastic ballpark one way or the other. We've seen this with Colorado over the years. It's just really difficult to go and win on the road because you've built your team one way. And so my theory is the Royals Park is like this, which in turn makes it so difficult for them to go win in Yankee Stadium, and they've struggled with them over the years. It's just part of the conversation. That, and generally the Yankees have been a better franchise than the Royals for a long period of time now.
Have you been happy with the Royals off season?
So far so good. So far so good. You could still trade away a little bit of surplus pitching if you want.
What's it been like having a front office that recognizes it is the off season? Cleveland's big move so far is signing a reliever.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's awesome. They're also good at I am a big fan of the Royals front office.
That's exciting for you.
I am very happy with the current state of the franchise. Actually,
whatever you are, I'm the exact opposite.
They long-term extend young players. They develop in the minor leagues and specifically with pitching. I think they understand the baseball piece. I don't know. They're analytically inclined.
The pitching kind of has to catch up, though, right? Like
it's coming.
The minor league.
It's coming.
Okay.
It's coming.
Yeah. That'll make a big change.
Indeed. All right. So not to spend too much time, but I did want to get a baseball topic in there with Schaefer. A couple of thoughts from you guys back to the Matt Rule conversation. Here's Greg in Myrtle Beach. We love when Greg in Myrtle Beach texts in. He says, "Why worry, Hap? Middle school Rule has tons of Vince Lombardi quotes. Plus, we're top 25 in transparency, engagement, and stadium Wi-Fi. Do fans get free tire rotations with Rules alignment?" Actually, I don't believe that Nebraska's probably in the top 25 in Wi-Fi. That would be hard for me to believe. You can't send a text in that stadium.
I mean, I can. I never have an issue, but I'm up in my ivory tower.
It's even a little sketchy up there sometimes.
It's very.
You haven't noticed that?
I haven't had much of an issue sending messages from.
I'll be trying to watch other games, and it doesn't.
That yes, the streaming up there can be difficult. Yeah. That I admit, but at least getting messages out isn't really a problem from the press box.
That is most certainly true. Also, transparency. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that either. Here is Tyler. He says, "I'm almost secretly. I wonder if this is a common sentiment amongst people. I'm almost secretly rooting for 3-9 next year. The bottom fell out on this staff the past 3 games. Dudes gave up, in my opinion. It's time for a change again. Screw a group of 5 coach. Go get an Indiana assistant, a Georgia assistant, an Oregon assistant, etc." Look, there's no guarantees on any kind of coach you hire. I understand the frustration, but they give Matt Rule credit for doing what he had to do this offseason. It's just the fact that he had to do it again that I think is where this frustration starts to build. And you're only allowed so many times to do it. But no doubt about it, that needed to happen.
Yeah,
that needed to happen.
The thing that just is cuts the knees out on it, though, is if you did this after you went 8-4 or 9-3, and you're like, we have to make changes for us to go where we're going to go, people would accept it. But when you do it after going 7-6 and you've
already done it before,
and you got absolutely trashed in your last 3 games, that's the other thing. I mean, you weren't even competitive against Penn State, who didn't have a winning record at that time, Iowa, who you played tooth and nail, whether you were good or not, and then a bowl game in which you unfortunately drew probably one of the 4 best programs that didn't play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, some of it is just bad luck.
Who played all their players for the most part.
But that's what it is. That's who you got to go play. So it's a situation where if you had just one game, if you don't have that game at Minnesota, if you finish that game against USC, you do those things to help your program's bottom line total of wins. People are a lot more receptive to, okay, they're making changes. Good for him. He's proactive. Now you look like you're reactive because you didn't win these games.
There just wouldn't be as much. There just wouldn't be as much anger attached to it. We'd be sitting here today.
The margin was that small.
Yeah, if they went 8-4 or 9-3 in the regular season, which conceivably, certainly they could have been.
Absolutely.
It all still ended up in a similar light, in a similar fashion. Although I don't know how the last 3 games go when you go 8-4 and 9-3, but whatever. We'd still be sitting here saying oh, I'm really not sure what they're trying to build and what they're trying to create here, it would just be a little bit nicer. It would just have a little bit less urgency, because at least you'd be able to figure out, like you said, Schaefer, the game stuff.
Yep.
At that point, you would have proven that. I don't really know what this is, what they're trying to do, the big picture, but I do know they're capable of winning football games.
Yeah,
So
you would feel
that changes the conversation
better about it
dramatically.
Instead, it's, well, they've got a new defensive coordinator, but their offensive coordinator has been here for a year and a half. We don't really know what he's going to run yet. And now the special teams coordinator, which is the one thing people were hanging their hat on, is rumored for other jobs elsewhere.
Right.
It's just, you have very little to feel good about.
Here's Joe in Vegas from Twitter. He says, I think Nebraska will go 5-8. 5-8.
So they're going to get into a bowl game
and lose it. Okay, and whatever. 5-8 at best next year. But I love the show.
Do we think Nebraska would turn down a bowl game at 5-7?
Maybe.
I think after 2 years of being in bowl games, depending on they may turn that down.
Maybe, because there'd be some significant changes.
I think we're going to see a lot more programs turn bowl games down next year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
Yeah. So
it's going to keep coming for sure. Joel writes in on Twitter. He says Nebraska is undefeated in overproduced light shows. People love the light show. On the recruiting visits, I believe they were doing the light shows for the folks who were coming in on the recruiting visits. That was at the request of the staff. Put on the light show. We must do the light show.
Previously, it was just having the video board running and the lights on in the stadium, and now we're getting the light show.
The whole light show.
Next, I don't know if you're allowed to do this, but maybe they'll find a way to simulate having fans in there too.
Oh, good job. Maybe you could get like a giant projector from outer space.
Holographic fans everywhere.
Holographic fans. Somebody pops up right in front of you. Go Big Red. Can I have your autograph?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
I'm trying to think of like the stereotypical holographic fans that you'd find at Memorial Stadium. A guy with like his Runza, the Derviner Schlinger guy,
or
the
run the ball guy who's has got the angry face on. Yeah, you could come up with
They'll have some corn heads out there as well.
Good one.
There'd be some old people sitting down yelling at other people to sit down. You'd have some of that in your holographic fans.
Yes, you would. Yes.
So,
all right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. More of Happer and Schaefer up next on 1620 The Zone. Last night, I guess they say basketball is a game of runs. Creighton 86, Georgetown 83 in overtime. Creighton's season is not dead yet. Change the hashtag from the path to hashtag not dead yet. A 10-0 run by Georgetown to build a lead in the first half, followed by over a long stretch. So 12-0 to end the first half for Creighton. I believe it was also 14-2. And then scoring the first few points of the second half, it got to 18-2. It was an 18-2 run. And then gradually and steadily, Georgetown continues to extend to the point where Creighton's win probability, at least according to my KenPom chart that I'm looking at, 9%, with a little over 2 minutes to go, or right about 2 minutes to go. Creighton was down by 7 with 95 seconds left. They go on a 10-0 run to finish regulation, including a shot that, I mean, off the literally Creighton's season is alive by a frame. The ball is still in Langston Love's hands by ever so slightly. It was a long, lengthy replay review at the end of regulation that looked like a game-winning buzzer beater for Georgetown, and the season was over and everything was done. They went to the monitor. They called it no good on the floor. They went to the monitor, and they looked at it for a long time, and then they went across to Nick and Paul Burmeister, and they looked at their monitor. So they had to bring in extra angles. I'm like, this is not good.
John was not real happy when they went over to Peacock, and I could pull up the drop that I made.
Oh, go ahead. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
this I was like, this is not good. This is not happening. But then they showed it in-house, and they had a pretty decent angle that seemed mostly conclusive that it was still in his hands. And exhale, Creighton survived, and exhale, Creighton somehow got it done in overtime as well. Even in a game where they allowed Georgetown to score on 16 consecutive possessions. At one point,
just doesn't even sound like it's real.
It doesn't make any sense. Max said after the game, he's like, "Hey, there are games like last Sunday when they played at Seton Hall where you're not sure how you lost because the lead just evaporated in a span of about 5 minutes. And then there are games where you can't believe you won. I don't really know how that happened, and I'm certain that it was a big string of luck. It was also the excellent play from Austin Swartz, who had 33 last night, who was nuclear hot, 8 of 12 from 3. I think 12 of 16 from the floor. Last second shot clock stuff, last second game stuff, floating in whichever direction. Like he was incredible last night. And then 13 from Graves and 15 from Dix. Everybody had to hit big shots. They did. They got everything they needed down the stretch and stayed alive somehow.
So I am curious from a strategy standpoint. I was listening to the overtime driving back from Lincoln, where they just demolished Oregon. Just so we mentioned that.
I remember Schaefer.
It is interesting because they were talking in the broadcast like McDermott just never fouls up 3. He didn't foul again last night.
Yeah, I don't think that I was debating that with a couple people who were standing around me, and like the question was just going around, do they do it? Do they foul up 3 here? I think you roll the dice in that specific situation simply because I don't know that I trust them to get the requisite rebounds. They had just missed a free throw.
So they were talking about on the broadcast where it's like,
yeah, I just don't know.
They're not rebounding well enough to justify that if make one, miss it, that you're going to be able to close that out.
Yeah, but at the same time, I did say and so people around me could verify this. I did say, I feel like Creighton's gonna foul somebody shooting a 3-pointer here. And it almost happened.
Cooley wanted it.
They could have called Blake Harper for a cylinder foul. He was in his grill. They could have called him, and they didn't. It's yet another stroke of luck for for the Jays last night. All right, Joey, show me what we got here. What do we have?
Okay, so this is
John Bishop highlights.
Well, this is just during that like 6-minute replay review. John Bishop made it well known that he doesn't know what's happening. And you mentioned Evan Burrows called the basket good. He counted the basket.
He didn't see that because I talked to John after the game, and he didn't see them call it good on the floor.
But anyway, this was his reaction to that.
I still don't know what the call on the floor is.
And then when they went to Peacock to check over the replay, since they did not have a really good angle.
Right.
Why are they telling television? Tell the crowd, damn it!
He had another moment like that in overtime where
they weren't telling them, for the record. They were literally looking to find out.
They hadn't announced.
He did realize it was just a look at
Right.
another angle.
Right.
They hadn't announced something, and then Bishop, in just the way that only John can, just like throws it in. Normally, you tell the crowd before you tell, but whatever.
So funny. So
he was unfettered, he was untethered, and unglued. It's how I want my John Bishop on calls. And,
how do you like your John Bishop? Unfettered,
untethered, and unglued.
Unfettered, untethered, and unglued. That's sort of a mouthful. So they find a way. 5-2. I don't know about any of their chances in any individual game, but this is a one game at a time situation for the Blue Jays, and it might be somebody different on any given night.
How out of left field was the Austin Schwartz?
There's only two guys who could get that hot on this team, and he's one of them. And the other one is Josh Dix,
who hasn't done that all year.
No, he's been more of like a steady, consistent guy, mostly because he's got to really guard the other team's best player on defense. I suppose, like, just from a shooting perspective, Isaac Trout is capable of doing so, and they have some other guys who are pretty capable offensively. But like nuclear, lots of points in a small amount of time, guys. Yeah, microwave guys.
Schwartz is on a nice, other than that St. John's game.
So I believe over the last 5, he is shooting in the neighborhood of 50% from 3, and it's pretty high volume too. It's kind of nuts what he's doing.
Other than St. John's, he's had at least 7 3-pointers in his last. There's 7 attempts in his last 6.
And he made 8 threes last night, which is only like it's only 3 off a school record.
He made 7. Against Xavier. 11 threes by an individual player is a hell of a school.
Mitch
record.
Ballack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that's going to be tough to knock that one down.
It is. I think Corver had 10 or Corver had 9 or something like that. And then, because it was just a trivia question at the game last night that we did, Mitch Ballack had 11 in a game one time. So they go to Providence to eat some good Italian food this weekend, and then back home for Xavier next week, as a emailer writes in, Benoit on the Equitable Bank inbox. Yep, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, not dead yet. There was a moment where I thought I was dead. That's for sure. I thought everything was over. But that is not the case. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. Oh, look, a story about the NCAA. What do we have here? Well, they're about to get a recommendation from the college football coaches. Oh, wait, this is actually an idea from the college football coaches. That's right. College football head coaches voted unanimously yesterday to recommend players be allowed to play in 9 games and retain their eligibility to declare a redshirt season. As you may know, in football, the current number of games that you could play without having to burn a red shirt is 4. And now the coaches say actually 9. So they that was a rule change that was made last year, made it so postseason games don't count toward the red shirt rule. So we're talking about 3 regular season games in which a player would not be able to play and can still redshirt under this proposed rule. It is
How do you
not,
think they came up with 9?
I genuinely don't know. My best guess is, and by the way, just to quickly, like, this is not an official proposal. It's certainly not a rule yet, but it will be seen in front of the committees over the next several weeks and months and stuff like that. My guess would be what they were trying to do here is realizing that they weren't going to do the 5-for-5 thing, which is, 5 years to actually play 5 years. And this is just a shortcut to it. This, I mean, effectively, this is that.
Yeah, it would certainly allow for longer eligibility for players. It's just fascinating because I don't know how this benefits programs greatly. It just seems like it's going to lead to more transfers ultimately.
Yeah, I think so.
You're just going to have more 5th-year people that have an extra year that have played at 3 other programs.
Well, there's this thing that happens at the end of every September now. So we've had this 4-game rule, and it's like, oh, it's decision time. Who's going to take their red shirt and sit out, and they don't. Sometimes they announce it, sometimes they don't. Whatever. That'll just happen in November now. Which I don't know if you knew that, but that's an important part of your season, November.
I guess I don't. I also don't understand how and why 5-for-5 died on the vine the way that it did. I don't know if it's they wouldn't be able to protect it well enough against legislation from courts. I didn't know.
I'm not sure either.
And so, I mean, obviously, this I think is more protected from legislation from courts, but it opens the door for so many other things. And then the biggest thing for me is what I liked about 5-for-5 is if you could just do that and there's no such thing as medical hardships,
that's it.
Then you just have we're all on the same plane.
I know that
there's no Diego Pavia. There's no,
in my opinion, that's the most confusing thing out of all of it. If you do a 5-for-5,
eliminate the waiver system,
take out waivers.
What brought you all of these problems to begin with? Grandma's sick. I need to move back to within a 7-hour radius, even though I'm actually closer at this school.
That was a famous one. Yeah.
So it's just I just want to get to the point where we don't have to have these wide swinging changes every offseason for this sport.
Oh, Schaefer, thank you. Keep talking, please.
Well, here's the thing.
This is an amazing take by you.
I have said this. You have said this for years. What sucks about college football is the rules are getting made up as the sport goes along. It's part of what Matt Rule was furious about last year when they spent their allotment the way that they were supposed to, and other teams were like, we're going to spend it all because there's no rules. We can do what we want. And you have people operating on these different things, and it's at least in a small way, 5-for-5 just puts everybody on the same plane.
Right.
There's nothing else that can be different about it. We don't have to go to the courts. We don't have to go to waivers. We don't have to have medical hardships. You have 5 years, however it works out for you. That's all you get. Right. That's honestly, that's what I would prefer. If we
I don't really understand the downside.
I'm almost at the
it.
point where I'm just 4. Everybody gets 4. No matter what, you're done after 4.
Sure.
If you want to continue your education and the schools want to pay for that, and that's part of their package that they can offer you, hooray, great. I am so over 6th, 7th, 8th year players in college. Like, go away. This is not necessary at this point in time. And
well, it's just the inconsistency of their eligibility, right? And then people like Diego Pavia, they see what is, what's possible.
He's never going to make the amount of money that he will make in college doing probably anything else.
Right.
Unless he becomes an incredibly good
and that's why he can
YouTuber.
go to court.
An ex-Paul brother.
That's why he can go to court and he could say, I'm going to stay, and if I'm going to sue you for money that I could have made because I'm at my highest earning potential right now, and that's why I deserve more eligibility. And it's stupid. And so I'm totally with you. If you do the 5 for 5 thing, which once again, this is close, but it's not that, and you're missing the key component,
yes,
which is the no waivers thing. That's the biggest thing we need to kill. That, like, there is no, and it's sort of cutthroat, I guess, in a way, because I appreciate that there are players who want to take medical hardships, who, want to get that year back and they just want to play, right? I totally understand that. But chances are maybe you miss one entire year of your college playing career, depending on what sport you're playing, or less than that. Chances are you're not missing more than one. Obviously, there's definitely a few outliers in this case every single year that we see. Oh, I missed this year and this year and this year. Trinidad Chambliss is the one who's going for it this year, right?
Which is totally fabricated throughout. Like, that's the thing. It's who can tell the best story. It's not even whether it's true or not.
Right.
Like, and
it's inconsistent on whether they accept it or not.
Right. And
or at least it was before they were scared of getting sued.
And then they just accepted most everything.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it for me is, and then you get the people like, oh, you're taking away their opportunity. And it's like, well, no, they're taking away someone else's opportunity.
Yeah.
That's the part of this that gets lost in it, is that if the longer you keep 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th year players, you're preventing someone else from having an opportunity and a career in itself. So it's it works in both of those facets. And then on top of it, you're just going to ultimately get to the point where, well, is group of 5 really eligibility? Isn't it only Power 4?
Just like JUCO right now.
And then if you play for the worst team in the Power 4, is that really eligibility at this point?
Yeah, I played at Purdue. Is that really eligibility? Did I really
I played for Ryan Walters. Those shouldn't count.
I played for UMass.
I played for UMass. That doesn't mean anything. You're right, Schaefer. It's like the door is so open.
I want some measure of parameters, some measure of consistency, and I want to just be able to move forward with this sport on some like, this is what it looks like, instead of, hey, we got to figure out our calendar. Hey, we got to figure out our championship system. Hey, we got to figure out if this guy can play or not. Yep. Hey, we want to figure out how these guys get paid. Hey, we got to figure out, do the schools do it? Do the collectives do it? It's just, and then, this is on us because this is our profession, but you spend so much time talking about all of it, and it feels like it takes away from what actually happens on the field.
It does, but only in the off season.
I know, but that's the hard part. The off season is so much longer.
Most of the year is the off season. Yeah.
Yep.
And so get ready to get triggered for the next 9 months, because that's all you're going to be if you care about college football every day.
And it directly impacts what happens on the field during the season. So it all works in conjunction.
You know what? Speaking of, this is a great segue.
Segue.
Speaking of being triggered,
okay.
Let's take a look at the Big Ten. All right. So the Big Ten is famously led by Tony Petitti, who is famously
a moron.
Yeah, moron.
And dragging out this Big Ten football conference schedule.
So, yes, Joey, thank you for mentioning that. Why hasn't he released a schedule? What is wrong with you,
There's
Tone?
your new bit. We just check in every day to see if there's a new Big Ten schedule.
The answer is always no.
Maybe we can have Joey call the Big Ten offices every day and get comments.
I got a schedule. Just use mine.
Send it. Just send it. I don't know if you need to mail it. Great. If you need to email it. Great.
We review one week of Joey's schedule every week until we get to.
We should. I don't know when we're getting this thing. I like the thought. There was
April.
there was some buzz that it was going to happen like before Christmas. And
well, last year they did it like a couple weeks before Christmas in the middle of December.
Is that right?
Yeah, they did that, but I think they hold it off because of USC and Notre Dame's little uncertain.
Well, they're done now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
so-
been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Let's put this thing out. Anyway, this is a different topic of conversation beyond that. So we are back into the offseason, Schaefer, which we all famously love. College football fans love the offseason and love all the talking points of the offseason. And the main talking point of the offseason is almost always, at least over the last couple of years, what do we do with the college football playoff? Do we change it drastically every year? And the answer, of course, is yes, every offseason. But we are in a time where they haven't figured out what to do with the next iteration of the college football playoff because and they need to, because the contract is up next year and it will change. So college football playoff executives are about to have an annual meeting. There's always a meeting around the national championship game in Miami. The Big Ten is apparently floating a compromise it believes could potentially break the stalemate between the Big Ten and the SEC as the clock nears midnight on the playoffs' January 23rd deadline for a decision. So Greg Sankey wants a 16-team playoff. Remember Tone's idea of we want all these automatic bids and all these random setups and stuff like this. He says I'm sorry, I said that Sankey wants a 16 team. I believe the idea from Sankey is they want to stay at 12, but they want to format it differently.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Nobody likes the current format.
the Big Ten's bargaining chip is this. They prefer a 24-team playoff.
Oh,
With or without automatic qualifiers, but they are willing to temporarily accept a 16-team field if the rest of the sport commits to expanding to 24 within 3 years. This is what CBS Sports is reporting. Brandon Marcello had this yesterday, and I had seen something written on ESPN before that. So the ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC want this 16-team 5+11. The Big 10 wants if they're going to go to 16, they want their 4 automatic qualifier random playoff generator that way. And Tony Petitti's bargaining chip is, here's what we'll do. We'll take your stupid 16-team playoff, but only if you do my playoff, which I want to be 24 after a few seasons.
Which I believe is the same number as the FCS, right?
30. You might be right.
I think it's
You
24
might be
because
right.
then 16 teams play, 8
Yeah.
teams have a bye.
Yeah, you're more of an FCS expert
Yeah.
than I am anyway. So
No expert.
you're more of an expert,
That's fair. I'll take that.
I would say. So, great job by the Big Ten, bargaining very well.
Do we need a 24 team play?
No.
Like, I will watch. This isn't like I would tune this out. No, I would absolutely watch. But this sport can't figure out its calendar as it is. So you're going to extend your playoff?
Mhm.
Like, is that at least going to start at the beginning of December? So we can have weekly football instead of just the long breaks in between?
The problem is whatever they would do, if they would land on some version of a 24-team playoff that made any sort of coherent sense, they would just change it after 2 years anyway, because somebody would get angry.
Because
about
Seth
it.
Davis says it needs to go to 96 or whatever?
Because someone with a 7-5 record will end up playing for the playoff.
Yeah, we base it off of the results too much. And that's, people couldn't handle the fact that Duke was 1 second away from making the college football playoff this year. They couldn't handle it. They weren't happy about it. We can't allow this to ever happen ever again. When in fact it was the ACC's own stupid, idiotic tiebreaker rules that led to them being in the ACC championship game in the first place, and it didn't have anything to do with the playoff whatsoever. And now we just want to change everything. This is what we do every offseason, and it frustrates me to no end. So
Well-
get ready, Schaefer. You now work with me, who is going to be angry anytime a college football playoff story comes up for the next
That's fine.
several months.
I mean, I can work with your anger. I mean, the other part of this is the just disingenuous nature of the two biggest powers in college football. I mean, so much of it is, well, we need more teams so that way the Big Ten can have more teams in and the SEC can have more teams in. Whether they deserve to be in or not is an entirely different conversation. But, and then we had the two group of 5 teams that were in this year and were not largely competitive in their games that they played in. So it's I like 12. Like, I'm very good with this format. And we've seen upsets. We've seen teams make runs from different spots. We've seen the number 1 team now in the second year of this just go through it as expected with Indiana playing in the national title. So it's I would rather they just stay at 12 and tinker in that vein.
No tinkering.
Can they tinker to getting home site games in the second round? Is that a fair tinker?
Sure, I guess.
What would be your reason for not?
I'm not against it. I just don't want to change anything.
Fair. I can.
What would you do with like the Fiesta Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and
what would you do with the bowls?
Those big bowl games? You want to fill up those.
You
stadiums.
Still have the
Mike Schaefer here for canceling the Fiesta Bowl, a great bowl game.
I mean, they're ultimately all getting canceled anyways, right? Like, I mean, these sites, the major sites will be the only thing that matter. Everything else is going away at some point in time. It's just a matter of when. And despite everyone's best efforts, the Pop-Tarts Bowl is probably not going to be elevated to one of the major bowl categories.
Are people trying to do that?
People want to because of the pomp and circumstance that's
because they really like when the Pop-Tart gets murdered.
Probably. Yeah.
Interesting.
It tends to be what
people
like.
People on the
like
internet.
Murder.
People on the internet like weird stuff. But no, I just don't want them to do anything. Like I think you have to do a playoff and leave it for like 10 years.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It would be really
nice.
nice.
We're just incapable of it because we play the results too much. This is what we do in college football.
Well, and you don't have an overarching thing in which, you have Greg Sankey talking about whatever is going to benefit them. You have a sport in which you didn't even have teams play the same amount of conference games. We already have a sport where you have conferences where you don't play everybody, and it leads to dumb things like the ACC tiebreaker. I mean, there's so many other things that could be focused on in college football, but we spend all of our energy on trying to determine the champion, and then we'll argue, and hear about how if Miami were to win this game against Indiana, and I don't think that they will, you would have this whole conversation about, well, is Miami really the best team in college football?
Oh, I know.
And which is not, the playoff doesn't determine the best team.
No.
The teams
determine. It determines the playoff winner.
If someone wins all the games, they get to be the best team.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't win all the games, it leaves room for the conversation. But a playoff just determines who gets to win that year.
Best is just a label. You can call the best anything you want. That's why you're allowed to say it on commercials. We have the best computer. Is this the best computer,
No,
Schaefer? I don't think it is, but we can say it.
I think it's more of a monitor than it is a
This
computer.
is the best computer. I love this computer.
Isn't it more monitor than it is?
Joey says we do not have the best computer. This is a
Joey
great,
would be in the best position.
look
to
at
tell
this
us.
great monitor. But will this monitor ever win the college football playoff?
No,
it will not.
Will it get an AQ? Probably not.
No, almost for sure not. But they could sneak in as a 7-5 ACC champ one day, maybe. Nortac writes in, do you guys think that Indiana or Miami is complaining about what you guys are complaining about?
This might be the dumbest comment I've read on the YouTube this
Nebraska fans are complaining because Rule has a losing formula that is wasting people's NIL money.
So this
No,
guy
no,
thinks
everyone
that
in-
no one else in
Yeah.
college football would be
Yeah.
complaining about what's happening within the what's going on in college football.
Like I get it. Like Nebraska is certainly complaining right now. There's no doubt about it. Mostly complaining about Nebraska. But
Are Texas fans not complaining about what's happening within college football?
It doesn't
is
seem
this
like
a comment
anyone-
that's being made.
yeah, it doesn't seem like anyone in college football likes the way the sport is headed or the
I read
college
that and
football
I
playoff.
didn't. I know where he's going with it. It's that Nebraska's not very good, and it's more or less the acquisition, or the idea that we're only talking about this because the football team isn't good. No, they're talking about this everywhere. This is a large conversation in college athletics.
It is. Mike writes in, he says, "Oh, Schaefer, I will say dumber things on the YouTube chat. You just claimed that guy said the dumbest thing on the YouTube
It
chat."
was dumb.
The dumbest, though?
I gave him the award. Can it be topped? We'll find out.
We'll find out. Right now, he's the best. Right now, he's the best. Sam McEwen is going to join us here in about 20 minutes, so stick around for that. We'll talk some Nebraska football with him. I do want to get like a Mike Eckler update. What's going on? What were the what was the buzz on that yesterday? I know we talked about it briefly yesterday, but we could bring that back up again, and a couple other things before we get to Sam. And don't forget, Lauren Michelson's going to join us at 9:15. We are back after this. It is Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. If Nebraska were to lose Mike Eckler, would the sky literally fall? People are wondering about that. Or if Nebraska, like more importantly, and there wasn't any, I don't think, additional reporting on this yesterday from, at least that I saw, about Mike Eckler and his potential of leaving and taking another job. But you do get the sense that there's a decision afoot, right? Like,
yeah, it's at least a possibility.
Yeah, there's
is
something.
Not some like random, totally made up.
Here's a game we can play: nothing or something.
We can play that game. Something.
In this case, something is our winner.
Yeah.
But the topic, the storyline that seemed to sort of emerge from it was he is a guy who maybe wants to try his hand as a defensive position coach again. And I don't know that Nebraska has any opportunities maybe for him to do that. I think there's probably a lot of stuff at play here, but I don't know. The whole thing is fascinating because point blank period, if they were to lose him, if Nebraska were to lose him as their special teams coordinator, like I said, it wouldn't feel very good around here.
No, I mean, that was kind of the thing you hung your hat on from last year. He had a tremendous first-year impact on Nebraska's special teams, going from just absolutely miserable to exceedingly competent to helpful to outright good in some cases. And you don't want to backslide in that regard. So you would love to not even be in these conversations. But there's an element to this that I think is relatively a difficult needle to thread, and that's what Mike Eckler wants to do as a coach. I mean, if he wants to be more involved with a position and not just be a special teams coordinator, that changes the outlook of things a little bit too. And so you have to, we'll see. The other thing is that everything's a negotiation, right?
Yep.
Like, so if this is an opportunity for Nebraska and Matt Rule and Mike Eckler to come back to a table and outline, hey, I want this, I need a pathway to this, and Nebraska has to look at it and determine, does this fit what you want to do? Does it make the most sense for you? I don't think it's a financial thing. I think Nebraska has no issue paying him money. I don't think it's a money thing at all. I think it comes down to, as he kind of changed, several years ago, the Mike Eckler that talked about coaching only wanted to focus on being the best special teams coordinator in the country. And one could argue he largely has gotten to that point. So his interest changed to now he wants to going back to what he had been before, where he's a linebackers coach, at one time was a defensive coordinator. Does he want to be more involved in recruiting? Does he want more, responsibility? I don't know. Those are the things that they have to determine, between him and Matt Rule and the Nebraska side of it. Or is it hey, I want to go, I was here for a year, did what I could do. There's an opportunity elsewhere that interests me for whatever the reason it is. I mean, that's what we have to kind of wait and find out. But everything we know about the USC situation is this is a guy that would have the opportunity to be involved with, I think, linebackers.
Yeah.
In addition to special teams as well.
It's crazy to me that he would be willing to leave Nebraska after a year just to, for a different place. And nothing against you. I mean, obviously USC is a great program and they're going to probably win more than Nebraska is next year. And they have certainly recently. So I guess there's that piece of it. I don't know what he wants out of this stuff, but like you said, 1 year. All right, I'm good. I want to try my hand at being a linebacker coach again. That just feels like a very quick change of heart.
Yeah,
it feels odd to me.
There's obviously a lot that goes into it, and there's this idea that of course he wouldn't leave. His family is here. He's from here.
Wasn't that the whole reason?
I would take that and just throw it away.
Yeah,
I mean that's a narrative that makes sense when he comes here. If he's leaving, there's a reason he's leaving, and what that reason is, I don't know. I mean, we can only sit here and speculate, and I don't really know that there's enough that we have to speculate on because he hasn't left yet. So we'll have to kind of keep an eye on this, but it would be absolutely devastating for the progress that Nebraska made in special teams, how they would choose to fill that role, and the lack of utter confidence that I would have in their ability to do so would be quite high.
How much of
because I kind of think they stumbled into this in the first place. If you go off of how
I know
Rule talked about it,
and that's the thing, like which scares me in this situation because they've always been a staff. Rule has always been, this is just a read from me. I just don't feel like they're the kind of people that are going to chase you. I like, if you're saying, hey, I want this and you can't give this to me and I'm looking for another thing, he strikes me as the kind of person who would say, okay, great.
Yeah, it's like if you have this opportunity elsewhere and it's what you want and we can't provide that here for you, we're not going to go against what we're doing to make you happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what you're saying. That
is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Gives me so much pause. And I wish I could remember at what press conference this was. I know it was during the 2024 season, and it was after, one of the early kind of struggles that they had and special teams came up. And Matt Rule stands up in front of everybody and says, Ed Foley will get this fixed. We have the guy to get this fixed. And they proceeded to play significantly worse.
He also said he didn't like to hire celebrity coaches. And basically what he was saying was coaches that people liked.
Yeah.
Which was always sort of odd to me too.
And so I like, if that is how you felt in that moment and things proceeded to get worse, and he did what you wanted him to do. He went out and he got a guy in Mike Eckler who immediately implemented what he did, and it was successful. I just don't have a lot of trust that he would go and do it again if you're in that. And we're a cart ahead of the horse. I mean, there has to be an opening.
Yeah.
But there's enough smoke here. And again, as I said yesterday, when it came up and there was the immediate like, oh no, he wouldn't leave it. I would take this as a very serious threat to the potential that, Nebraska could be without it.
Do you think we don't know what exactly the situation is, and we're just tossing ideas out here. Like, but let me throw this particular one at you, Schaefer. If it is a situation where they would have an opportunity to keep him, the person, on the staff, but he would have to move roles and do a different thing, do you think that's something that Nebraska should do? Like, is it him, or is it his ability, or is it his stability for special teams?
For me, and this is just me, if he wants something that isn't special teams or something in addition to special teams, and you think that it affects the ability of special teams as a whole, or it doesn't jive with what you're doing, then ultimately you're going to lose him anyway. So you might as well cut your losses at that point. Like, I just like the whole value of Mike Eckler is not him as a linebackers coach. It's not him involved with your defense. It's not him as a recruiter. It's the Mike Eckler that came here that spent the previous few years of his career saying that he wanted to be the best special teams coordinator in the country and then going out and doing it. If he's not going to do that, and it could get in the way of the special teams, then I am not as interested. Like, I'm just not.
Would it make the news of him not being the special teams coordinator? Because if that's the case, then he goes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, then it's like, whoa, what's going on here?
Then you just
is
have
the
to
program
address
on fire.
What do you address it when it comes up? And it becomes I hate this because we're so far ahead of him. He hasn't left.
I know. We're just playing out.
I want to reiterate that if someone's just
situations.
jumping in the car. But, if we get to that point and Matt Rule has to talk about it, and it's in large part because he's also going to be a linebackers coach at USC, then I think the conversation is we wanted someone that was just going to be a coordinator. We made every effort we could to keep him happy as a coordinator, and he wants something more than we can offer at this time.
It would still be a tough thing to hear.
And people aren't going to accept it. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to do what you have to do that's best for the program. And if you don't think that can work, then you have to move in that direction.
Yeah. You'd be losing a lot of, I mean, I don't know if it's stability simply because he's been here for a year, right. But I mean,
you lose the momentum.
Results.
You lose the momentum of what was successful and the continuity of that. And you don't know what pieces would, or what players would ultimately want to follow him if they left, just like the kicker that he stowed away in Australia, that was going to go to Tennessee until he ended up in Nebraska. So it's just really difficult, and it ultimately comes down to what is it that Mike Eckler wants?
Well, we'll find out maybe,
or this could just all end up being a large conversation about nothing,
or it's nothing and he's back.
And we, and then we'll see if Matt Rule gets asked about it. And I'm sure Sam McEwen has thoughts here when we get to him in a little bit.
What a great segue. Why don't we do that when we come back here in just a couple minutes? We'll talk with Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald, and we'll talk to Lauren Michelson from KTV at about 9:15. We still have plenty of things left to come today. And, of course, we want to hear from you all. 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. You can call or text that number and then send us a tweet as well. At Happer Schaefer. I need to – are people tweet? Let me check my – because we're trying to get this Twitter account up and running. Oh, look. We got
we got some.
We got a tweet from the first meme from Joel, who was really, really nice. Joel sent the meme folder from – he would make random memes from my show with Josh. And he sent me all of them in like a Google Drive the other day. And I just clicked on them and laughed and laughed and laughed. It was great. So now he sends one for the first time. It was like a
walkthrough meme history for you.
Yeah, it was great. I remembered things that we hadn't talked about. And now he sends one the first time for Happer and Schaefer. It's you and I, shake and bake, at a dinner table from Ricky Bobby. I want my John Bishop unfettered, untethered, and unglued.
It's true.
Pretty good. Thank you for the meme, Joel. Appreciate it. You could tweet at us at Hap and Schaefer. We'll be back with Sam McEwen coming up next on 1620 The Zone. But first, a word from our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Football playoffs are here. Underdog is the best place to get in on all the gridiron action. You can make picks and win money. Right now in Nebraska, it's oh so easy. Just pick if your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. Get those right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. So say Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter. I would probably like some hires there. That's just one of the options available for you on Underdog for this upcoming weekend. Download the app today and use promo code Happer1620 to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code Happer1620. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 19 plus and present in Nebraska. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing. Get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play call, 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, Joey Colbert with you this morning. Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. We're joined now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline by our good friend Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Hey, welcome to the morning, Connor. And hey, Shape, I'm just really glad to hear you on the radio, man.
Hey, I appreciate that.
Program.
Thank you.
You guys will do a great job.
Thank
I'm
you,
looking
Sam.
forward to listening to it day in, day out.
That means a lot. I appreciate that. And yet another time for you where you have joined another iteration of my show. This is like the fifth or sixth time this has happened. So thanks.
We had him in Lincoln, though.
The mornings are better. I will say that. Your afternoon show, 1 o'clock, like on Monday. I was always like, I'm not sure, so like, I will be less of a flake at this time of day.
You were generally able to make it work though. So we appreciate that. All right. So we were just talking about Mike Eckler for a little bit there.
Yeah.
I wonder about the motivation here for him. And we still don't know if anything is going to happen with this, but like, do you have a clear picture of what Mike Eckler wants as a coach?
Gosh, I'm not inside the guy's brain. I think based on whatever, I don't know that. I think I would be speculating for the most part on anything. But I'll just say this. This is a guy that has coached at a lot of different stops. He was very secure in his role at Tennessee. Was a special teams coordinator. He was an outside linebackers coach there for a successful program. And everything I understand about Tennessee is he was good to go there for a very long time. But came back to Nebraska, got a small raise to come back, wanted to be here, specifically in Nebraska, and was paid specifically to do the special teams role, and like agreed to that. And that's what it was. So, and then did a good job, and did a very good job. And nobody can argue about the work that was done this year and the jump that Nebraska took. I would think you'd want to run it back if the boss says, let's run it back under the exact same circumstances because it went really well. I don't know if there's a desire to move on based on a really successful year with everybody kind of doing exactly what they were supposed to do. I think you have to look at it from two different angles. I think most people who are talking about this are looking at it from the, what did Rule do? Or like, well,
you're right.
Well, this would be terrible for Matt Rule. I'm like, well, at some point, if you're an assistant and that's sort of the contract you signed, and if it isn't exactly whatever you want, or there could be one, there's some aspect of the role that you don't like or appreciate, and you decide. And again, I think he'll probably end up staying, but that's just kind of, it's a two-way street, I guess. I use whatever metaphor you want to use. I don't know that much about like the inner workings of this conversation, or like, I know he's been attached to the USC job online. How much whatever there is to that, I guess we'll see. But I'm just explaining the parameters. Everything went well last year.
Yeah.
So like, I know that if I were in a similar role, I'd have to consider, well, everything went well and I was able to get back here and I did a good job, and why not just go ahead and do that for the second year of the contract? Then the contract's up. And there you go. Like, then you can make decisions, and if that's the way you want to do it. But from my perspective, I think it was a pretty good situation. So, if that were to happen, I guess we'd have to plumb the reasons. But I think they wouldn't necessarily be on Rule. Maybe I'm defending him ahead of the fact, but I think that's probably the way that I would parse it out. Mike Eckler's a heck of a coach, and I've said this before, maybe even on your show, Tom. The way that he coaches fits really well with today's student athlete. I think 15 years ago, it was almost like it might have been a little too much. But now I think you almost need an Eckler type in order to get student athletes a little bit out of that sort of phone encased shell that they can be in. So like, I think what Eckler does now is a great fit for today's student athlete. And so, I think that's why he's been successful, and that's why he might be in demand.
Sam, do you think, regardless of what happens with Mike Eckler, do you think one of the hallmarks of just the Matt Rule time at Nebraska, for however long that's going to be, is we're just going to see sort of a sort of revolving door of assistant coaches? I feel like it's sort of where we're headed, because that's kind of what it was for him too at times with other stops where guys were coming in and out, and he seems like he's the type of person that an assistant coach lasts for couple years and then moves on to either a bigger, better job or another opportunity, or, famously, I think he's even mentioned he sometimes can burn people out. He's not for everybody, certainly as a boss.
Right. So, I think based on his history, I think that's a good observation. I think if he stays at Nebraska 5, 6, 7, 8 years, which I think is probably his intention, the first thing that Matt Rule needs to get used to is staying in one place for a long time. Because that hasn't, other than Temple when he was kind of there and then he went to the Giants and he came back, like he hasn't really been in one place for several years, like 6, 7, 8 years. I think if he were to root in Nebraska and say, okay, let's say they have a good season next year and they go 9-3, and it's like, all right, we're going to run this thing back for 2 or 3 more years because we can see it getting over the hump. I think his value for continuity probably goes way up. That's my sense of it. And so, like, I think part of what you're seeing is that, like, he's going into his 4th year at Nebraska. He has said that it takes 2 or 3 years to get the staff exactly the way you want it. And, I think this iteration is probably much closer to where he needs to have it in terms of the kinds of personalities he wants to work with and the kinds of people, and also what college football is now. Like, I think there was a balance that had to be made. And then, of course, Evan Cooper left for personal reasons. So, like, Evan Cooper would have probably been with him here even still. Evan Cooper probably would have been the defensive coordinator when Tony White left. So there's some of that. And so, yeah, I think you make a great point. But that said, I think if Dana Holgerson was like, hey, you know what? I want to stay around for a while, and I'm not really ready to go back to college football as a head coach. And if you guys are willing to accommodate me and I'm willing to call the plays and the offense gets better, I think Dana could be here. He'll be going into his 3rd year, but honestly, he could be here 5 or 6 years. And so, like, it kind of depends. I think the longer that he stays, the more value he'll have in continuity. Like, one more thing, one of the things that happened in the offseason that stunned me was Michigan State hiring away Iowa's special teams coordinator, who had been at Iowa for 20 years. And, like, sometimes things just change, Same thing happened with Larry Johnson when he left Penn State for Ohio State. Like, sometimes these things happen, and I don't know. But no, you make a really good observation, Dave. I totally agree that he's a guy that if you're gonna work for him, let's first say 5 or 6 years, you have to move with him, which sometimes is the speed of light. Like, he's moving so fast every day, you have to be able to adjust to his speed.
Sam, how would you, in general, how would you assess Nebraska's activity in the portal so far? Like, how do you think they've done for themselves through a week plus here?
Pretty darn good on the offensive side of the ball, and wait and see on defense. And I think one of the reasons they've done well on the offensive side of the ball is you hired 2 offensive line coaches who knew a lot of people, had a lot of connections, and know how to recruit. And so they went out and got 3 guys who, if all of them meet their potential next year, you've got 3 starters. And that's a pretty good deal, right? And they might get a 4th. I can see them getting a 4th lineman. And then I thought they did okay at quarterback. Anthony Colandrea is, he makes some mistakes, but he also makes plays. It reminds me a little bit of a Tommy Armstrong in that way. Good leader, playmaker. He'll make a couple plays for the other team too over the course of the season. But a guy that I think you can follow into battle, who's going to have, who's going to take a couple of shots and get up and smile, and who's going to get his teammates going. I like Danny Kalen as a backup quarterback. So I thought that was a good ad. And I think Quasi Gilmer is going to be at least as good as Dane Key and maybe better. So nice work on offense. On the defensive side of the ball, I can only go based on they brought guys in who were the size of a Damian Daniels or a Darian Daniels, and they didn't get those guys. And so what they've done is they've signed some smaller, quicker guys who can get it done. They're just going to do it in a different way. And they're probably not, two gap guys that are going to take up two blockers. They're going to have to penetrate and, make plays in the backfield. And, that takes a certain amount of risk. So Whittingham and Thomas, we'll see how they do. I think they want to bring in another guy. And then Babergia is not really in the transfer portal, but he kind of is.
Right.
And he's got to hit. I mean, and the way that I put it is if he's as good as Perrion Winfrey or Davion Nixon or Andrew Van Ginkel, all of whom went to Iowa Western and were developed by Aaron Terry and Dave Paul, if he's that good, then, we're cool in the game. Like, he's going to be a good player. And because all those guys went to the NFL. And so, like, that's what Nebraska needed there. And if they're able to land that guy, I'm sure he didn't come for free. So, you include him in the portal haul and nice work. So, okay, on the defensive side of the ball, kind of a wait and see over there. And I think on the offense, they hit a lot of the areas they wanted to hit. And they haven't taken a running back yet, and they may not take a running back. And that's the thing where we'll just have to judge what they do in the next week or so, and then we'll have to decide based on the way they play next year whether they should have taken a guy. But I don't know yet about the running back position. They like the guys they got. That's what I know.
I mentioned the continuity with the coaches. Are you at all surprised at how many players have elected not to go into the portal? I mean, there was a bunch of names bandied about. I mentioned earlier that Justin Evans was one that I was kind of worried Nebraska might lose. He's still with them as of now. Obviously, the portal open until Friday. Are you at all surprised by how they were able to retain, other than Dylan Raiola and Keona Davis? I mean, there was some sizable names for Nebraska's program that it would have hurt to see them go in. And instead, right now, it feels like they've done a pretty good job in retention.
Yeah, thus far, I think it's went pretty well. Vincent Shaver signed, and obviously anytime you see sort of a social media announcement about that, that was a big deal.
Yep.
For him to come back. Ja'Cory Barney would be another one. I haven't seen anything about him, but I think he's coming back. Maybe there was something and I just missed it. Barney be another one. I mean, I think there's some guys who probably could have gone into the portal and landed at other power schools that were either as good or better than the Huskers, but Nebraska treats the athletes pretty well. And I think so long as like everything else is even, you're going to have to start making decisions about, well, am I going to get more playing time over here? Am I going to get more money? I don't know exactly what. And like the school that would be the most likely for Ja'Cory Barney is still in the playoff. So like, I don't know how much time they're able to dedicate to any of this. I'm sure it's hard. I'm sure it's very hard. Indiana's done a real nice job. I mean, they got like 14 or 15 guys, but sometimes it can be hard to focus on two things at once. So, I think they've done pretty well at retention. I think they kind of knew going into year 4. I'm a little surprised that so many young offensive linemen have stayed, because I feel like the writing's on the wall of like, well, you guys might play this year, you might play next year, like. And they're all willing to stay, which again I think tells you something about Jeep Wade and Lonnie Teasley that they've been able to keep those guys in the fold. We'll just have to see. I thought there'd be maybe a couple more who would leave, but thus far they've been able to retain almost all of those guys, and kudos to them.
Okay, Sam. Well, actually, you know what? I got to get your thought on basketball before we let you go. Oh my goodness! I mean, how long does this go until it doesn't go anymore? I mean, until they lose,
it stops going.
I should be clear. Yes, Sam. What do you think about Nebraska basketball?
I think it probably goes at least till Michigan. And that'll be a tough one up there. So I'd say they are undefeated going into Michigan. If you wanted to sell me that they could get upset by Minnesota, I wouldn't necessarily say no, but I've watched a lot of Minnesota actually in the last couple of games against Iowa and Wisconsin. And I think Nebraska's better than Iowa and Wisconsin, and Minnesota beat one and lost the other. I mean, I think Nebraska will beat Minnesota. So I'd say till Michigan, and then you're going to have a top 5 matchup that I don't even know what network it's on. Peacock, probably. You know, so like Nebraska is not on any of the big networks really until the end of the year when they play Iowa on Fox. So yeah, I mean it's going to be really interesting to see how they play it out. That was like you're watching that game last night and it's like, oh, it's tied, and now it's a 10-point game, and now it's a 20-point game, and now it's a 30-point game. Like the casual brutality that they have toward teams like Wisconsin and Oregon. It's just that's actually the most impressive thing to watch this season. Like, yeah, winning in Indiana is cool, and beating Illinois was awesome. That was fun to watch. But like, we're just gonna beat Wisconsin by 30, and it's not gonna look like it's gonna be like they didn't shoot like 90%. They just kind of ground them down, and then Stanford and Berger hit some threes, and it's like you look up and it's 35 points. It's like, you know, and then Dana Altman. I mean, what an endorsement of your program to have Dana Altman, who's one of the toughest guys of all time, say they kicked their ass. I mean, that's just oof.
Yep.
That's an endorsement because Altman's tough. Like, he's tough, and so for him to say it means something. And Nebraska basketball fans should take that as a huge compliment because he's a Hall of Fame coach. And he prides his program on toughness, and they got pushed around by Nebraska.
No doubt. All right, Sam, appreciate you. Thanks as always. Have a good rest of your week.
Take care, man.
Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald. Casual brutality.
I love it.
That is a band name, by the way.
I love it. I love it.
That could honestly be this show's name if we get sick of Happer and Schaefer. Casual brutality.
Casually just being brutal to your eardrums.
It's brutal. It's brutal. By the way, that Michigan game is indeed on Peacock. Good call there by Sam. So get your Peacock ready, everybody. All right. We'll be back a couple more minutes before we talk with Lauren Michelson from KTV. We are back after this on 1620 The Zone. Look at that. Joey is. Oh, sorry. I turned on my sound during the break there. Joey's got his first graphic cooked up on the YouTube right now. Schaefer, have you seen this? Would you like to?
It's on our.
Probably should turn your microphone on. We're working on it still. We're working on it.
Don't worry, I got it.
I'm on it. Now I missed the
Oh,
graphic.
now it's gone. Okay, there it is. What do you think? Special teams update featuring Joey, who says, I love special teams, with just a sad-looking Rich Bisaccia right next to him.
What happens? Can we get a little Mike Eckler like popping his head sideways in here right now?
What's going on? I'm sure you can.
And then you can take that one out if we need to, if he's back in the fold.
This is all pretty good. Yeah. So maybe we could get Joey's daily special teams updates featuring the man he once fired. Rich
Good
Bisaccia.
old man Richard. That's my nickname for
Joey,
him.
when you take your afternoon nap this afternoon, you're gonna be dreaming about when Rich Bisaccia gets fired.
Yes, I will.
/ will it happen? I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? And who knows how the Packers special teams will look?
Maybe they'll hire Mike Eckler. I don't know.
Maybe.
Now, if he left to be the Packers special teams coordinator, that would probably not be good. For a variety of different reasons. Because the thing we were talking about before was, well, he's going to go be a linebacker coach or whatever, if that is the case.
Would an NFL special teams coordinator job be better than a college special teams?
I actually don't know. Would it be? Maybe.
You work less.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess.
You have absolutely no reason to be involved in recruiting. Your calendar is completely different. The stakes are higher.
Yeah.
Significantly higher. You'd have to live in Green Bay. That seems like that would be a negative.
It seems like it's just a harder thing to be successful at, maybe. I don't know.
Well, the high end of it is you become a head coach like John Harbaugh, former special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
I think there's some other guys that have made that move as well. Yeah, it's tough. I think being a really good special teams coordinator is really hard to do.
That's what I'm saying.
Like really, really hard to do.
Yeah.
So for him to even be in that position,
because the best doesn't feel like that big of a gap from the rest, but it makes a difference when you see good special teams units operate. So you mentioned John Harbaugh there. Mike Tomlin is out as the Steelers head coach. He is. They called it a mutual parting of ways.
What are your just general thoughts on Mike Tomlin? Spent 20 years with the Steelers. Yeah. Won 2 Super Bowls. Both of them or won a Super Bowl, played in a second Super Bowl.
It's very similar to John Harbaugh. Like I would love to have either of them as my coach, but if you had a team, if I had a team, I also understand both of those organizations saying maybe
we've
it's
kind of just run out of,
maybe it's just the best that we don't have this anymore. Like I echo my thoughts on both of them. I think they're both really good.
I think it was Brunts or BC. Somebody made the joke that Mike Tomlin is going to replace John Gruden as the guy who just is in grocery stores around college campuses in all of
well, there was already the Tomlin, what was it, Penn State earlier in the season?
Yeah. Well, famously USC a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah. And when he said, why would I ever coach in college? That would be stupid.
Yeah. So,
and yet still the Penn State rumors popped up. Interesting.
I don't see him coaching in college.
I can see him being on TV or something.
Yeah. I don't think he coaches immediately. I think he's a year off guy and then potentially comes back into it.
Yeah.
I would be fascinated where he ends up because he's one of those people that he's so linked to the Steelers organization. What does it look like when he's in a completely different framework? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it more of the same?
I mean, he did start
but if it's more of the same, nobody wants to hire a coach when the ceiling feels like you're 10-7 with a bad offense every year.
But that I don't think that would have to be the case.
No, it doesn't.
If I were any organization hiring him, I wouldn't be saying, "Oh yeah, we're automatically going to have a good defense, but we're going to have to work on the offense." Like I think
they didn't have a good defense at the end.
The circumstances are completely different.
Yeah, I think the thing that you would get with Mike Tomlin is someone who's really well respected by players that would seemingly knows how to push the right buttons to keep people engaged all year.
That's it. Yeah.
Like, I don't know that you're not getting someone who's like a brainiac in terms of building a defensive system or an offensive system. I think you're getting that actual CEO type thing. Yeah. It's just, can he then make the right hires, and do you have the right players?
And like you said, I don't know how much of this is the Steelers, and I don't know how much of this is him. But at a certain point, they're the same, right? Like they've had some questionable characters in the locker room over the years, and when they're Steelers, they're Steelers.
It's
right?
When they're not Steelers.
It's when they're not Steelers. That's when it becomes a problem.
Right. Nosedive right into the ground.
I mean, you got to give him credit for that, and I think some of it is just the organization as well. But who would have thought that Zach Taylor, who's been living on the edge for quite a while now, is the one who is still standing in the
There's
AFC
one
North.
very specific reason that he's still the head coach.
Why?
The Bengals are the cheapest organization in the NFL, and they don't want to pay a buyout.
That is definitely true. We've experienced this. They get last in the player survey.
They held out on Marvin Lewis forever because they didn't want to pay out a buyout on his contract. Like they're very cheap. They're a very frugal organization.
I'm curious about what happened. I mean, this is a whole division with those teams that has an identity to it, and the teams don't change. But when you change the coaches, invariably at some point the personalities of the team sort of change. Like taking Tomlin out of the Steelers is fascinating. Taking Harbaugh out of the Ravens is fascinating. The Browns are probably still the Browns even without Stefanski.
Browns have been the Browns.
Like Stefanski's going to go and upgrade somewhere probably. Like, but the division identity changing is a fascinating thing for me. Like what happens to a division when you do this just bang overnight? You know?
If you were a prospective NFL head coach, which is fun to think of. If maybe you were, and for some reason you had an opportunity at either Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, but also Lamar Jackson so expensive that it causes you to be worse elsewhere.
Horrible on defense, yes.
Or the Steelers, massive quarterback question, kind of have some pieces throughout the rest of that roster that are really interesting. Where would you and their framework has been really good. So obviously you can have success there because historically you can have success.
Am I trying to win the Super Bowl? Am I trying to make the playoffs? Like, who am I?
You're a coach going into these situations. You're always trying to win the Super Bowl, and in order to win the Super Bowl, you got to make the playoffs.
I think I'd probably take the upward mobility of the quarterback.
Yeah. The one thing about the Ravens that fascinates me is it's such a unique quarterback situation that whoever takes that job, in addition to how much money Lamar Jackson takes away from the rest of the roster, you have to have an offensive coordinator that can marry what he does really well as he ages. So you're not going to get the version of him that was the MVP necessarily.
Right.
Like I like Lamar. I like Lamar.
I do.
It's just, I don't know what like the best fit in that situation is. Like I think about the head coaches that they've interviewed, and
I think at this point it's almost like Josh Allen. Like I would put I would try to put an incredible defense around him, and then have him just running around and making plays literally by himself.
So one of the people
offense
that the Ravens are interviewing is Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, who has made incredible defenses out of not necessarily, like you look at the Vikings, they don't have like a star on their defense. Harrison Smith is aging. Andrew Van Ginkel's really good. Grenard is good, but they don't have anyone that you're just like, oh, that's an all-pro on their defense. They don't have that. So could you do the same thing with Lamar on offense if he goes and gets an offensive coordinator that can handle all of that, and then Brian Flores just builds his style of defense in Baltimore? He doesn't have to worry about the quarterback. Famously, he had many thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa that got him largely fired.
Many people have many thoughts on Tua.
He ultimately has looked more correct than not coming out of that. Yeah. But then
he's a pretty well-respected defensive mind.
He's an incredible defensive coach. Yeah. I would hate to see him go, but if he has a head coaching job, like, he's going to go.
Yeah, that could be a spot.
Problem is he's suing the NFL, which makes it really hard to get a head coaching job when you're also suing the owners.
A little problematic. Yes. All right. We could continue that conversation as we get near the end of the show. We're running a little behind here. Let's step out of the way. we could talk with Lauren Michelson from KETV, joining us on Happer and Schaefer next on 1620 The Zone. All right, we are rolling through the new slate of guests on this first week of Happer and Schaefer. We have reached Wednesday. I like this whole 8:30, like 8 o'clock guest, 9 o'clock guest situation we got going on. This is good. And now we welcome you. This is one of the first, if not the first time, on the 1620
it's the first
airwaves for Lauren Michelson from KETV. Lauren, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, you guys. I am well. I think this is my second. So, getting the first two off the back here with you guys is very exciting. Thanks for having me on.
Also, you're welcome. Also, I was just looking at the work that you were doing last night, and your Twitter profile page told me that it was your birthday. So happy birthday, Lauren. This is amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, no other thing I'd rather be doing at 9:15, 9:20 in the morning than talking to you two.
Especially after an 8 o'clock basketball game last night.
In another city.
In another city
Right.
where you had to cover it and come back. But
Right.
we appreciate it. Last night, set the scene for us. I mean, it's a 35-point win. It sort of feels ho-hum on the face of it, but I mean, we have seen now the energy and excitement for Nebraska basketball. It feels like we're reaching a fever pitch.
Oh my gosh. Well, you just said it. Like, the environment is incredible. Everyone is so thrilled to be there. No one's letting up fan-wise. It's just a great place to be and watch basketball. Literally the hottest ticket in town, as all the next home games are sold out about right now. But I mean, as for how they played, Hoiberg wanted a more complete game going into this one. He wanted them to play a full 40 minutes, not let their feet off the gas. And, we've seen flashes of that this season, but oh my God, did they put it together last night. It was tied in the first half and they set the tone defensively. Role players had big nights. But God, there's so many good storylines and they're just fun to watch. You watch the guys on the bench and they're freaking out, losing their minds. And it's just pretty remarkable. And really the best story right now, in my opinion, is that Braden Frager. I mean, you can't believe he's like 19 years old, having to, he's had some moments, but last night I think was one of his better stories, better nights of just his poise and God, like 7 threes, 23 points. I mean, just pretty outstanding. And they're just fun, guys. This is just a great time to be watching basketball in the state of Nebraska.
Hey, you were there in the post game. Dana Altman became the latest of a long line of coaches that could not help themselves but mention Sam Hoiberg. What did you see from Sam Hoiberg last night, in a night where he had 5 steals in the first half, and then he had kind of a little bit of a burst for 7 points there in like a 5 possession stretch in the second half? What did you think of Sam Hoiberg's play and just how he's played all year, as he's kind of reinvented himself in his last year with Nebraska?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a gritty, resilient, scrappy player. And last night was one of his best overall games, in my opinion. I think he was third in the Big Ten in steals heading into last night. Put together 6 yesterday. I think that's like 1 or 2 short from Nebraska's single game record, which is incredible. And then he also sets the pace offensively. I mean, Nebraska, 20 assists, 5 turnovers. They wanted a clean game, and he's really a catalyst for just the tone on the court there, and the guys love him, and he's so excited. He plays with so much joy, and you love talking to Fred Hoiberg post game, and he's trying not to light up too much talking about Sam. But I mean, it is an incredible story how much he's grown over his career at Nebraska, and the fact that he's not just a role player. I mean, he at this point is really a big reason this team is having so much success, and I think everyone likes to see that.
I don't know about you, Lauren. I'm always amazed, and I feel like I mention this every time we talk about Nebraska basketball, but specifically Fred Hoiberg. I'm always amazed, and this is just his personality. He just keeps it so even keel 100% of the time, and I feel like I see that reflected on a nightly basis with this Nebraska basketball team. Not too high, not too low. That's their coach, right?
Yeah. Well, like, obviously you guys know teams take the identity of their head coach, and that is very much Fred Hoiberg. And he's said all season what he loves about this team is their ability to not panic when things do not always go right. We saw that on the road at Indiana, down 16, you come storming back to win. And Fred says a lot of that is because they are so even keeled, and regardless of what's happening, they're just buying into what's going on and not looking too far ahead. And, play on the court aside, you need that mentality when you're having a run like this, because I mean, at this point we are having conversations about what March could look like. And Dana Altman said it last night. He said he was so impressed with this team, hates to jinx them, but I think they're going to get the monkey off their back in terms of getting that elusive NCAA tournament win. So, I mean, it's just it's just a really exciting time to be watching this team. And, props to Fred Hoiberg for everything he's done and staying the course. And I can't imagine how happy and excited he is while also trying to keep it one game at a time.
Hey, do you believe Dana Altman when he says, I'm not trying to jinx him, but, I think they're going to do it this year?
Right. I mean, come on. He was so pissed off last night, which you can't blame him. But I don't know. I mean, he's a Nebraska guy. He's played this team countless times. Like, he knows. I mean, I think he's more concerned with what his team's going to do as a Sweet 16 contender in the past to get through a daunting couple next games. But, man, like, hearing another coach say that to his pedigree was pretty awesome.
Were you at all surprised at how quickly Oregon just kind of went away once things started to break down for them late in the first half?
A little bit. They were missing some key guys, but also I just think like Nebraska's scout for this game was unbelievable. I mean, if you would have, I don't know exactly what it was, but they wanted to win the battle of the boards, so they attacked the glass and they just played really clean basketball. And you were a little nervous there in the first half when it was tied, but they've done what they've done all season. It starts on defense with this team, which and that's what Dana said too last night, is like, that's one thing that's different in this Nebraska basketball team than maybe years past. Is like, we've seen Fred Hoiberg teams have such a strong offensive identity. This one really is gritty on the defensive side, and they're connected on both sides, but that defense is really what shines, and Altman credited it as well last night, which is great.
Lauren, I want to shift gears a little bit and jump over to football. It's been a really sort of busy time with the portal. For a TV coverage standpoint, and just for you as kind of following it, like, how do you sort of, how are you kind of following this? How are you sort of staying locked in on what Nebraska does when they're swapping in so many new pieces, particularly guys that could end up starting on the offensive line and elsewhere on this team?
Yeah, I mean, this, as you both are well aware, this portal season I don't think it's ever been bigger for college sports, especially for Nebraska when things ended in disappointment this season. But as for our lives in TV, how we keep up, it can be kind of crazy, because when you have a commit drop, Twitter post or whatever it may be at like 6:00 or 6:10, we've had things happen where you're running the stat, your entire show is done, and now you're turning around screaming at your producer, hey, I'm adding a line in the show. Can you approve this graphic? We're pulling stats last minute. Video, if there's any, and it can be kind of crazy, but it's kept us on our toes. It's fun. I do think they've had a lot of success so far, which is great. I'd like to see more defensive linemen. Obviously, that's a huge glaring need, but as for the offense, I mean, I think they've kind of hit it out of the park. I mean, tell me you don't want to watch Tree Babalade play this season. I mean, come on. Like, I'm so excited for what they've done so far, honestly.
I would love to watch a guy named Tree play. I mean, and it sounds like
more players named Tree, I think, is how we feel leaving the portal.
Please, prerequisite to play on the line for sure.
Speaking of coverage, how far advanced are your discussions at this point with what the coverage is going to look like when Nebraska is very likely close to home for the NCAA, relatively close to home for the NCAA basketball tournament?
Yeah, relatively is the key word. Well, my boss, Andy Kennedy, is very good traveler. He knows the stuff. He likes to attack the hotel scene and plan out very early. So we sat down on, Tuesday night and booked hotels for Oklahoma City, Portland, and St. Louis. So we're waiting, where we have a couple bases covered. I would like OKC. I think that would be one of the more fun options. St. Louis would be fine. Would rather not go to Portland. But you know what? If they win and have a deep run, I'll take anything. It's fine. But yeah, we are planning already, and it's going to be a long trip where we have multiple hands on deck, and never slows down, does it?
No, it never slows down around here. You what's the big birthday plans? What do you got going on today? How are you treating yourself?
I'm working today.
Okay, that's a good way to treat yourself.
No, exactly. It's great. I'm gonna actually chase down we haven't done it's been a little bit since we've done some high school stories, so I'm gonna chase Omaha North Girls basketball. Won their first Metro tournament title in like 50 years this couple weeks ago, and can make it to state for the first time since like early 2000s potentially this year. So going to head over to their practice, do some interviews, tell a nice little prep story, and then finish the day strong. And then I have a couple of days off this weekend. So
Excellent.
Shout out Andy for approving that.
Shout out Andy, indeed. All right, Lauren, appreciate it. Thanks for being part of this with us. We'll certainly do it going forward. We'll enjoy it, and happy birthday. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Lauren Michelson from KETV. When Schaefer sent me a guest list of here's some people that I'd like to have on the show, Lauren was on the list, and I was like, that is a great idea.
Yeah, no, she's
everywhere.
She's
She's a
great
hustler.
work. She is everywhere. She was out in Providence last year, I think, with UNO. Did a great job with that.
I feel like on Saturday, she was at the Creighton women's game, and she may have been at the Nebraska women's game too. Like,
yeah, no, she is everywhere. She does every sport. She is definitely a star.
Yep, indeed.
In the local media scene.
And shout out to former KETV man Matt Sotilli, who just took a job recently out in Connecticut. Also really, really good. Something about KETV. They got it all figured out.
They produce them.
Those are our friends over at KETV. All right, let's take a quick time out. We'll come back. We have one more segment to get to, a few things to round out the show. We got to come up with something to end the show. You know,
okay.
You suggested the recap or
that's
what we
more
learned.
Of a Friday thing. I think
We could do a what did we learn
daily?
What did we learn today?
Okay.
I mean,
is that a little bit harder because we start our day at 6 a.m. and we finish it at 9:30 roughly?
The day's not really over. Yeah. That's true. We don't have as much to go off of. Also, there's a very good chance that people listening to the show would certainly argue that I didn't learn anything today. What are you guys talking about?
I couldn't.
Here's
what
I learned.
Imagine him saying such a thing.
Here's what I learned today. This guy Nortak just keeps commenting. So he keeps saying things.
I don't think he appreciated when I referred to him having the dumbest comment of the day.
No, I don't think he did.
It's come back at me quite a bit on that.
Yeah, I don't think
that's
so.
all right.
All right.
Have better comments, and it wouldn't be the dumbest comment of the day.
Quick reminder that we have an online contest going on right now for a pair of Chris Stapleton tickets. That concert will be October 7th at Pinnacle Bank Arena, so you could check that out at 1620thezone.com. And speaking of 1620thezone.com, the zone deal this week is to Langfelt Overhead Doors. Get a $600 LiftMaster garage opener for just $300. You can find that Friday at 9, 1620thezone.com. Hey, Shafe, I don't know how well versed you are in Big East basketball stuff. I'm going to say probably not very much.
I mean, I could name the teams.
That is a step. That is a step in the right direction. But no, it tends to be the conference where, I don't know, there's just a weird random story that happens.
Oh, are we talking about Matty A?
Well, we could talk about him. Yeah.
I meant to bring that up, but
we could talk about him. That one is not particularly surprising.
The part involving Andrew Cuomo is a little bit weird. The embezzling from the NIL operation is a new one for him.
Yeah.
Being in trouble and allegations is not new.
No, having questionable financial decision making, So I saw him in Vegas and talked to him for a little bit, and then I saw him. Well, the plan was they were going to come back here and play Creighton on Saturday, and he was not there. And I thought, uh-oh, that's not normal. So my antennas went up, and then that came out last night. Then that came out last night. But no, I was actually talking about this. So
not even that.
It wasn't that. UConn played Seton Hall last night. They were up by like 1 million, and then Seton Hall got it down to 2 before UConn ended up winning. But UConn fans apparently think that they are under some sort of curse at the Prudential Center where Seton Hall plays. And so a man on the internet hired an Etsy witch to remove the curse.
Did it have to be an Etsy witch, or did that just?
I think that was just the easiest path to a witch. Yeah,
witch for hire services aren't big elsewhere outside of craft websites.
Hard to say. I'm not in the witch like witches.com. I don't know what to do. But here was the response from the Etsy witch. I have received your request, and I want to tell you, your suspicion was absolutely correct. I have now fully completed and sealed the powerful hex removal, and protection shield for the UConn men's basketball team, specifically for their game against Seton Hall on January 13th, 2026. During the ritual, I immediately detected a very heavy, jagged, and sticky energy surrounding the team's aura when focused on the Prudential Center. It felt like a static hex, a low vibrational loop designed to trigger confusion and comical errors at crucial moments. It was not just bad luck. It was a targeted, energetic interference that had been feeding on the team's past frustrations. As I channeled the removal frequency, I felt a sharp white light pierce through this gray fog, shattering the hex and replacing the chaotic vibration with a solid, ironclad shield of protection. That was what the Etsy witch did for UConn last night. And guess what? Sylvia, she got it done. UConn won.
Do we need to hire Sylvia for the Nebraska football program?
Maybe.
Is there a hex on Nebraska football?
People will say that. People say that. By the way, Dan Hurley commented on the Etsy witch.
Good for Dan. How do you feel about, I don't know that I've ever asked you this. How do you, Connor Happer, college basketball guy?
I love Dan Hurley.
Okay. I was worried that you were going to go the other way on.
I love Dan Hurley.
Like, I think he's
hilarious.
He's a lot,
I
think
he's hilarious.
It's great for the sport.
It's a great bit. The whole thing
It is not a bit.
I know, but
that is him.
It is, but when you see him when he's not coaching, he's almost like Bo. Like he's engaging, he's personable, he's funny.
Bo is not those things.
He has a personality.
I don't understand how this is like Bo.
I don't like Bo.
Bo has never been engaging.
Bo on the right day, probably not
Bo
engaging.
for the right person. For everyone else, he thinks you're a moron.
Sure. So it's not like Bo like 100%. But when you turn on the lights, when he's on the floor coaching, it's a little bit of a different person. And he plays it up a little bit.
He's definitely a character.
So here is Dan Hurley's comment on the witch and her rituals. What the bleep? What was that? Well, I would say UConn fans are a different animal. It's not surprising, but what am I going to say about it? I spray holy water all over the court. I sage my court. I throw garlic under the bleachers. I mean, I'm a bleeping cartoon character, so I don't know how I could pass judgment on some other bizarre bleep. Mike Schaefer, I'm so happy to welcome you to the Big East. This is great. I can't wait for you to learn about all this crazy stuff.
I mean, there's got to be like a caricature shirt that has the I'm a bleeping cartoon character that shows up at UConn games by the end of the season.
I would think so. I mean, the shirt, you would be, I guess you wouldn't be surprised because you've seen this before. Shirts get made overnight.
Yeah,
at the slightest of
Does your boy John Rothstein have a shirt for Dan Hurley just based on this press conference?
I don't think so, but my boy John Rothstein. Why did you say that?
I just felt like saying it.
That's not my boy.
I know. That's kind of why.
That's going to be Nebraska's boy. He's about to buy everybody a Peroni.
Allegedly.
When they win an NCAA tournament game, which they'll definitely do.
No, you're jinxing. You get out of here, Dana Altman.
I'm not trying to jinx him. I'm definitely not. Definitely not trying to jinx him.
How dare you?
Chase Todd writes in, well, there goes. So he texted him before. He said, I wanted to win the dumbest comment of the day. And he said, well, there goes my chances. The witch's comments were the dumbest. I don't know, man. The witch got the job done. Also, Seth writes in, poll question, would you hire an Etsy witch to win basketball games? I would do just about anything, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it'd be that expensive, to be honest with you.
I would be fascinated what she charges, largely to hear her explanation of what has happened with Nebraska, like what kind of negative forces have been going on at Nebraska.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I just want to hear how she phrases it.
She'd probably walk into Pinnacle Bank Arena and be like, oh, yeah, a witch has been here before and performed a ritual. And now you are getting the greatest season of all time as a result of this. Nebraska football.
The other question I have is, does she have to physically be in the space in order to sense all
It doesn't seem like it. It seems like she can work remote.
Do witches work remote?
Poll question. I don't know. I don't know.
Are we doing poll questions?
I got it up.
I'm sure we can. Yeah, I'm sure we can. We can do poll questions. But there you go. She absolutely got the job done last night for
her
for UConn, and
good for UConn.
They got the job done. Oh, look, Josh Odson's in the comments. Where's my Peroni? Where's my Peroni? Well, Nebraska basketball has to do something they've never done before first.
Will he
they have to win an NCAA tournament game?
Do you actually think he'll show up and do this?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, will
he go to like gate 25? What bar do you think he's going to go to?
Probably like what the artist formerly known as Longwell's.
Oh, the corner bar.
What is it? Is that what it's called now?
I think it's called the corner bar.
Yeah, probably there. It's just a big space, right? Or just like in the rail yard. I'm sure
the rail yard. He's
just like. Did he set a limit on how many people can be in there at once? Because if not, that's going to get pretty rough.
Yeah, people want their free beverage.
Oh, they will be there, and there will be Nebraska basketball fever if they win an NCAA tournament game, which they definitely will.
I don't like that bit.
All right,
that bit's done.
That will do it for us today.
Get that bit out
on the show. We appreciate you all joining us, and I believe, according to the latest knowledge that I have, we have been allowed to come back for yet another day tomorrow.
Hey,
maybe we'll be well rested because there's no 8:00 games that we have to watch.
YouTube will be fired up to know this
evening. What?
The commenters, they'll be excited to know we're coming back for another day.
Oh, the YouTube. I thought you said you too. I was like, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, no, Bono's excited.
The YouTubers will be very, very excited that we're back for yet another day tomorrow. Appreciate you listening. If you missed anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. The crossover is next.